Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Awaken his sacred gear earlier and becomes the greatest Sekiryutei of all time Part 3 Season 1. Before we start, please go support Damowatling for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 31 A Blunt Sword, a Knight's Crushed Spirit. Isseihyoudou is currently standing alone in the new constructed training room built for the Isseihyoudou household. He is not moving a muscle. He is only staring. Gazing upon his materialized blade, daring not to swing it. Tiba, POV. The president tells me I am pushing myself too hard. That Issei isn't mad at me and I should stop worrying myself to death about what happened in the past. Everyone tries to pry the tools from my hands, stating that I am letting what happened get to me too much. But this is the least I can do for Issei-kun. Whether it's something as simple as cleaning or cooking, I want to be useful. I want to help him. After all, one thing still remains a fact. I turned my blade on my best friend. I swore to him, with my pride as a knight, that I would help him. That I would protect him. But did I fulfill my honor as a knight and keep that promise? No. I attacked him. I tried to kill him, my best friend. The others tell me not to worry. Issei-kun tells me that it was his fault for not being strong enough. But that's not the point. It was I. It was me who was so weak. So powerless. I let myself be controlled by that monster and I almost cut down the man who saved me. I'm afraid. I no longer trust my sword or my own power. Sometimes I feel like I hear my sword, or maybe it's my soul calling out to me. Kill him. This may be the after effect of the brainwashing and memory manipulation. But the fact still stands. I have to become stronger. If I ever want to fulfill my promise to Issei-kun to myself, then I will not fight alongside him until my sword and soul are clear again. My hands begin to shake as I tighten my grip around my blade. They're nervous. They hesitate to move forward, but I will press onward. I have to make the first step if I hope to get any stronger. I lift my arms and my sword high above my head. And with all the strength I can muster, I swung my sword with all of my might. The first slash was extremely heavy. Like my body was trying instead to prevent me from wielding such a dangerous weapon. In fear of who it may accidentally cut down. Sweat drips from my forehead as I swing my sword again and again. Cutting nothing but the air that surrounds me. Suddenly, the sweat falls into my eye and it begins to sting. But I did not stop my sword despite the pain. In fact, I welcomed it. I felt that this pain was what I deserved for my betrayal of Issei-kun. My legs are starting to match the rhythm of my sword once again. Slowly but surely, they start to move with my attacks I make. My body is starting to loosen up as if it was frozen solid for over 100 years. My speed is beginning to increase and the sword I swing is beginning to feel lighter again. My soul begins to shout as I strike the various training models in front of me. The anger in me begins to swell as I only see that bastard in front of me now. Ryu Tatsuo. I cry out with all of my strength as I begin to strike down each and every one of those models that I see as my greatest loathed enemy. Ryu Tatsuo, I yelled as I began to strike the remaining dummy. Suddenly, the sound of my sword colliding with metal echoed in the training room instead. My vision began to focus and suddenly my anger subsided as I looked into the hazel eyes of the girl who wielded the destructive holy sword. Zenobia. I simply said, feeling my rage leave me. Looks like you're doing some heavy-duty training, Kiba. Mind if I join in? I'm sure I will put up a much better fight than those motionless statues you just annihilated. Zenobia replied, but I could not accept her request. I'm sorry Zenobia, but I also want to get stronger. You're not the only who betrayed Issei, Zenobia screamed, interrupting me before I could refuse her offer. I'm sorry Zenobia, I didn't mean to. Stop apologizing. You and I are not going to be able to stand by Issei as his friends if we just keep moping around all of the time. We have to work together as the Knights of the Gremories to get stronger so this kind of disaster never befalls Issei again, Zenobia replied, once again interrupting me. I suddenly felt myself smile at her words. As she felt the same pain and dishonor that I also shared. And as I gazed into her eyes of desperation and determination, I could not possibly refuse her assistance. You're right. Let's both do our best to become knights worthy of protecting the Sekiryutei, Zenobia, I said, automatically my body making a stance. Now you're beginning to sound like a man, Kiba. But don't hold back, it's now or never, Zenobia said back to me as she too took a fighting pose. Zenobia and I charged at exactly the same time, our swords ready to fight by our sides for the first time in so long. Normal POV. The two knights of the Gremory household met with their swords colliding in the middle. Kiba, realizing that his sword lacked the power to overpower Zenobia's durandal in a close confrontation, decided to use his main advantage. His speed. Kiba broke out of the struggle on purpose and increased his speed and disappeared from Zenobia's sight. Zenobia closed her eyes and attempted to sense what direction Kiba would aim to strike her from. I've got you, Zenobia stated as she swung her sword at what turned out to be nothing but air. Behind you, Kiba shouted, managing to strike through Zenovia's guard and catch her by surprise. The sapphire-haired swordsman felt the full power of Kiba's slash, and as a result she was pushed back quite a distance. It seems like your sword has a much sharper edge now, Kiba. Very well then, here I come, Zenovia replied as she jumped into the air. Kiba gazed up at the ceiling in an attempt to anticipate when his opponent was going to descend. Zenovia suddenly dropped like a rock, slamming her durandal into the floor, which caused Kiba to take a small step back. However, Zenovia expected Kiba to react this way. And in response, Zenovia launched a surprise attack by striking Kiba in the head with her skull-crushing power kick. Kiba managed to raise his sword to guard himself just in time. However, this didn't stop Zenovia's strike from hurting like hell. As expected of my junior. Alright, I guess I will have to go all out as well. Kiba said, now summoning his balance breaker betrayer sword. Zenovia stared at Kiba's demonic and holy sword combo and smiled. It looks like you're ready to fight again, then Kiba. Alright then, I won't disappoint you either, senior swordsman, Zenovia replied as she began to charge him this time. The two swordsmen began to meet each other strike for strike. Both refusing to lose to the other's sword skills and power. If it wasn't for the super soundproofing of this escalated battlefield, then surely by now, the whole household would be awake and watching. Kiba and Zenovia yelled as their swords clashed together. Both fighting with all they had, so when the time came, that they would be able to face any danger and protect both their president and their dear friend. Sword birth burn to ashes and be frozen solid, Kiba declared, now wielding his fire and ice sword dual-wielding combo. Zenovia smirked, using all of her strength to smash his swords into smithereens. But she also couldn't help but feel a huge sense of deja vu when she attempted to do so. To the female swordsman's surprise, after Zenovia slashed his blades with all of her might, Kiba's weapons remained intact. In fact, Zenovia suddenly felt cold as the ice that she just tried to destroy began to climb up her sword and her hands. Zenovia grinned as she slammed durandal against the floor to remove the ice. However, she wasn't expecting Kiba's second attack, and she was hit full force by Kiba's sword infused with flames. Zenovia began to pant, but still, her smile remained on her face. You've certainly improved a lot, Kiba. Of course, I'm not the same blind fool who you fought in the past. This is my full power and I don't intend to lose to you. Kiba said, making Zenovia laugh. That's true, you're not acting like a child trying to get his own way this time. Zenovia said, beginning to attack again. Well, sorry for behaving like a child. Kiba replied with a matching expression as he parried against Zenovia's holy sword. Kiba and Zenovia kept their sparring up for a good hour before the match met its final conclusion. When both swordsmen collapsed to the ground in exhaustion. Both their magical power and muscles brought to their limit. Geez, so who wins? Zenovia said, being the first to break the silence. Let's call it a draw, shall we? Kiba said with a genuine smile. Sounds good to me. Zenovia said, shaking Kiba's hand which he just extended out to her. Kiba and Zenovia finally left the room feeling happy for the first time in ages. After a straining morning workout, Kiba and Zenovia both decided to relax their muscles by taking bath in the hot spring area located in the basement, feeling it was necessary to help them ease up in case a battle should occur. A few weeks later, Issei was putting on his jacket preparing to head out. The contract? Do you want me to go with you? Rias said, feeling especially clingy and worried about Issei's safety recently. That's okay, Rias, I should be fine alone. Issei replied, kissing her on the forehead. Even so, I would feel better if someone went with you this time. After all that's happened, I'm worried something will happen. Rias said, clinging onto Issei's arm. Issei grinned and pulled her into his chest. Okay, I understand. I'll ask someone to come along with me. You hold down the fort until I get back, okay, Rias? Issei replied with his signature grin. Yes. Rias said as she too wrapped her arms around him. After a few minutes, Issei stroked her hair and then kissed her on the cheek. I'll be going then. Have a safe trip. Rias replied, unable to help but miss him already. Since the engagement between her and Issei came to fruition, her feelings for him have increased tenfold and she can't help but want to spend as much time with him as possible. Issei wondered who he should take with him for this little outing. But then caught sight of the blonde hair just about to head towards the training room. Kiba. I'm going out on a job. Do you want to come with? Issei inquired, making Kiba smile. Gladly, Issei-kun. Kiba replied, feeling useful towards his friend. Issei and Kiba departed shortly after and wandered the streets cloaked by shadows. The mission was over quite quickly as it was only a request from one of Issei's regular clients who simply just wanted to compete with Issei on his latest fighting video game. Issei stretched his arms over his head as they exited the house. Man, I'm starving, I hope Rias and the girls have started preparing dinner. Issei said, breaking the silence of the alley. You're always hungry, aren't you, Issei-kun? Kiba replied with a chuckle. Hey, in case you forgot, I have the appetite of a dragon, right Drag? Issei said back with a smile. Yeah, that's right. Kiba and Drag replied together, making Issei and the knight laugh happily. Suddenly, Issei stopped in his tracks. Kiba, can you sense that? Issei said as he surveyed his surroundings. Yes, it's quite the ominous aura. And if I'm not mistaken, we're trapped in a powerful barrier. Boy Drag, what's going on? Issei said, only being answered back by the wind. Issei began to worry because of his inner dragon being unable to respond. The Sekiryutei ran a quick check on his sacred gear and concluded that he would only be able to draw Ascalon and use his boost power-up. Well, looks like the flies have become trapped in the web after all. A voice echoed in the shadows, causing the Gremory members to turn around. Who are you? Issei asked, now finding the source of the voice. The man dressed in black was accompanied by an army of swordsmen and a relatively small childlike character. But there was one thing Issei was sure of. They were all demons. Who are we? Of course, a low-class devil like you would have never heard of us before. We are members of the new faction of Cow's Brigade. Clipeth, and we are here for one reason only. To kill the Sekiryutei, the leader announced. Damn balance break, Issei said, but no change to his appearance happened at all. Aha, it's useless, Red Dragon Emperor, we found a way to disrupt the connection between a wielder and their dragon. Behold the sacred gear we personally manufactured. The leader said, pointing the child who held something that looked like an odd-looking speaker. But this device, the connection between you and that dragon is disrupted. Which means, you can't fight us with your balance break. Go my soldiers, bring me the Sekiryutei's head. The swordsmen began to charge the Gremory members with their swords drawn and ready for combat. Damn it, Kiba, here they come. Ascalon Issei luckily managed to retrieve his dragon slayer blade, giving him a weapon to defend himself. Watch my back, Kiba, Issei said as he went to take on the first half of the assassins. Leave it to me, Issei-kun, Kiba said as he raced off in the opposite direction. Issei began to dispatch the soldiers one by one, realizing that they were not too tough to handle. But in reality, their sword skills were far superior to his own. Dragon shot. Issei managed to summon up enough magic power to blast a few of them. However, his magic power was greatly disturbed thanks to the enemy's disrupting device. Cut him down, men, the Red Dragon Emperor is no match for our numbers, the leader once again said as each solider got back up. Issei and Kiba had no problem dealing with the foot soldiers at all. However, soon they were going to discover that the leader wasn't going to go down so easily. With all of his troops failing their task, the big cheese decided to make an entrance. I feel there is no need to tell you my name. For in a matter of seconds, you will both be taking a permanent rest on the end of my swords. The mysterious demon said, revealing two huge demonic swords. That's not going to happen, Issei said, racing into battle whilst Kiba dealt with the remaining troops. Issei slashed down on his opponent, but his attack was unfortunately blocked by the giant-built man's sword guard. Weak, the demon said as he crushed his boot into Issei's gut. Issei grunted, feeling the powerful kick knock against his ribcage. Issei carried on his assault whilst sacred gear continuously boosted his power. Issei tried once again to strike his attacker, but once again, his attack was parried, and this time, Issei suffered a colossal punch to his head. Just as Issei was beginning to fall to the ground, he began to experience intense pain in his shoulders as both blades pierced through them. Ah, Issei roared, feeling the full force of the assassin's stab attack. Suddenly, the swords were ejected from Issei's skin, and Issei began to stagger. What's wrong with my body? Issei questioned, now feeling incredibly weak. Ah, so it's finally taking effect. My blades are coated in a poison which begins to paralyze the body of whoever I cut. Damn you, Issei said as he failed once again to summon his armor. Issei-kun, Kiba yelled when he saw Issei get stabbed in the abdomen. The brown-haired devil dropped to the ground, the paralysis now in full condition. Issei now lay there a prisoner to his death flag that had just arisen. Damn you, you're all in the way, sword birth, Kiba shouted, piercing the bodies of those who denied him access to going to his friend. It's over, Sekiryutei, the man said, now slashing down towards the prone individual. Like I would let you, Kiba shouted as he parried the strike of the bastard who tried to kill Issei. You're in the way, get lost, the enemy said as he attempted to cut down the blonde-haired knight. Kiba parried once again and then tried to strike. Kiba's eyes shot open when he saw himself be launched back by the huge demon's powerful counter-attack. Now stay over there, I will kill you shortly. The demon said, returning his sight towards Issei. I'm not done yet, Kiba said, getting back onto his feet. You still intend to resist? Very well, I will cut you down first. Kiba suddenly dematerialized his holy demonic sword and picked up Issei's discarded Ascalon. You think you can beat me without your balance break? Foolish low class, know your place, the Cow's Brigade member said, now preparing to attack. Suddenly, that moment, an atmosphere different from the holy demonic sword emitted from Kiba, and he was suddenly wrapped with a holy aura. Several holy swords appeared from the earth, and at the same time strange-looking beings with armor on them began to form. The armored knight take the holy swords growing from the ground into their hands, and they gather around Kiba. It seems like the helmets of those armored things are based on a dragon. Impossible balance break. Your balance break is supposed to be the sword of betrayer. How can you use another balance break? You're right. During the Kakabial incident, I gained the factors to become a holy sword wielder from my former comrades. And I also received a SacredGear ability which lets me wield and create holy swords. But after that battle, I have been training with Issei-kun ever since in order to reach the next step. He came at me with all he had whilst I only used holy swords to defend myself. I admire Issei-kun, his kindness and his ability to protect those he cares about. I was saved by Issei-kun. So now I will protect him, Kiba said, making the dual wielder in front of him grow slightly nervous. Don't make me laugh, it's obviously a trick. It's no trick, this is my balance breaker's second form. Glory Dragon Trooper, Kiba said as he ready to charge with his troops. I guess the only downside is in this situation is I won't be able to use the holy demonic swords. I can only use the holy swords. But it doesn't matter, because I won't need them to take you down. Kiba and the mysterious Cows Brigade member charged at each other in an instant. Kiba and the demon exchange a single strike, causing the night troops to disappear afterwards. A moment passed and the demon began to scream as he began to be submerged in light. Smoke came from his wounds due to the damage from the holy swords that pierced his flesh. Damn you Gremory household, you won't be able to defeat the Clippeth faction, you will all fall from his power, you will all perish, were the demon's last words before his body turned to ash. Kiba ran to his fallen friend and assessed his injuries. Issei-kun, are you alright? Kiba asked, remembering the poison inside him. I'll be fine. After all, Rias is very prepared for these situations. Issei said as he reached into his pockets and emptied out the phoenix tears on himself. But still, Kiba, you're amazing. The fact that you brought what you imagined to life and created another level for your balance breaker, that's incredible. You mean you knew what I was training to do? Kiba asked, clearly surprised. Of course. And I'm glad to have such a dependable comrade watching my back. Thanks Kiba, I owe you one. Issei said, making Kiba smile as he helped his friend up. Now let's go home, Kiba. I don't know about you, but I'm starving, Issei said, beginning to walk home with Kiba walking alongside him. And it was at that moment that Kiba's doubts and hesitation slipped away. He did it, he protected Issei, and his sword finally came back to life. Chapter 32, Kaneko's Shadow. Release your power. Ever since Kiba saved Issei and himself from the sudden ambush by Clippeth, the brown-haired teen could happily say that Kiba's confidence had been fully restored. The Red Dragon Emperor felt relief slowly flow out of his body as he soaked it in hot soothing water. Issei felt that things were finally beginning to return back to normal now. After all, slowly but surely his comrades were getting ready to battle by his side again. Many members of the Gremory household were hard at work honing and improving their skills for the next oncoming evil that is threatening both the human world and the underworld. Kiba and Zenobia are sparring together in order to get a better idea of how each other fought. This would give them both intel and experience, which would greatly assist them for when the moment arose that they would jump into battle back to back. Issei also caught glimpses of Akeno and Asia, improving their magic power and their stamina as to prevent their tanks emptying too quickly. Issei grinned as he remembered catching a glimpse of Asia, trying to increase the range of her healing power, and Akeno hard at work, changing the shape of her lightning attacks, which, like Kiba's newest technique, resembled that of a dragon. Even the king herself was hard at work. Rias was working on a new technique to further improve her arsenal of destructive magical attacks to combat against the threatening Clippeth group. It was at that moment when images of Rias Gremory overran Issei's train of thought and monopolized his mind. Do your best. But I promise to you that I will also continue to grow stronger so I can protect you, Rias. Issei said with conviction and determination. Rias, Issei said again as he began to lean back further. Suddenly, Issei felt something soft behind his head as opposed to the hard tiles that were normally in the place he leaned back towards. Yes. A voice said, making Issei startled by the sudden intrusion in his head. Rias. Issei said, clearly startled by Rias' sudden arrival. You look like you were thinking quite deeply about something, Issei. Rias said to the boy who was currently leaning against her chest. Rias? Since when were you in here with me? Issei said as he tilted his head to look at her. I'm sorry, Issei, when I saw you head towards the bath, I couldn't help but want to join my cute little pawn and wash his back for him. Rias said as she wrapped her arms around his waist. No, it's not a problem, Rias. You just surprised me, that's all. You're certainly getting better at masking your presence. Issei said as he struggled to decipher how she managed to escape his senses. You're so mean, Issei. You've been spending so much time with everyone else that your cute fiancé has been very lonely. So I won't let you go anywhere. Rias said with a mischievous grin as she greedily held him tight. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Rias. But I had to return everyone back to normal before I could happily face you alone. Issei said as Rias now held him close to herself. It's okay, Issei, I expected as much from you. But just remember, we all care about you. So please don't push yourself too hard. I understand, Rias. I promise to be careful. Issei said, feeling he could finally relax and enjoy his time with the Crimson Princess. Speaking of hard, you seem to be enjoying your time with me, Issei. Rias said as her hand trailed his abdomen line. That's because Issei went to say, but he was immediately silenced by Rias' lips on his own. It's okay, Issei, it makes me happy that you're always looking at me. Rias said as she attempted to tease him. Anyway, you came here to wash yourself. So let's get out. I'll wash your back for you. Rias said as she took his hand and led him to the stalls. Issei did as he was requested and left his back to Rias to attend to. Rias grinned with a face of lust as she pressed her bare soaked-up chest against Issei's back. Well, Issei, does it feel good to have my breasts wash up against your back? Rias asked whilst her hands got to work on washing his chest. It's the best. I always welcome the opportunity that I am blessed with to see your beautiful form, Rias. Issei said, making Rias smile. But, I can tell there is something on your mind besides bathing, Rias. I've been found out, have I? Geez, Issei, you always see right through me. Rias said, clearly surprised by Issei's discovery. You know that you can always lean on me anytime, Rias. So tell me what's on your mind and I'll do whatever I can to help you. Issei said as Rias resumed washing him. Thank you, Issei. In that case, can I make a request? Is that okay? Rias said as she draped her arms around his neck and embraced him from behind. Of course, what do you need from me? Issei asked, having a hunch what this was going to be about. Somebody in my peerage has been feeling down lately and I'm worried how to cheer her up and how to help her. It's about Kaneko, isn't it? Hey, Issei, you knew? Yes. I noticed Kaneko has been down since the beginning of this week. But it's not just that, I can sense her innate fear of something. So you know about Kaneko's secret, Issei? Yes. I learned about it during the incident where all of your memories were manipulated by Ryu's sacred gear. You see, Ryu's sacred gear failed to work on hybrids and it was then that Akeno revealed to me that Kaneko was a Nekomata. Yes, and she has a sister who fully accepted the power and as a result became corrupted and evil. Hiroka. Hey, Issei, you know about Kaneko's sister? Yes. You see, after the battle ended, I went to the underworld and spoke to Surziches. And he told me all about Kaneko's past and how her older sister betrayed their master and murdered them. Yes, that's right. And ever since then, Kaneko has been suffering because she has been trying to suppress the Nekomata power and is trying to fight with her strength alone. Rias replied with a sad look on her face. Don't worry, Rias, I swear I will do something about this. Please just leave Kaneko-chan to me. Issei said as he turned to face her and looked her straight in the eyes. Thank you, Issei. Rias said as she suddenly relaxed into his toned chest. You know, I can't seem to remember a time when I didn't depend on you so much, Issei. Am I a selfish devil? Rias said, to which Issei responded with a smile. You be selfish and rely on me all you want. I'm your pawn after all. Issei said, suddenly kissing her on the lips and then pulled her close to himself. Geez, Issei, why did I have to go so many years without you? Rias said, feeling at peace in his arms. I feel the same way. But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Issei said as he carried on embracing her. Well then, promise me this, Issei, once you have helped Kaneko, you will let me have you to myself for a whole day. Rias asked with hope in her eyes. I promise, Rias. Once this is settled, I will take you out on a date and I will give you all my time. Issei said as he left the bathhouse arm in arm with her. After Rias and Issei returned to his bedroom to discuss strategy and attack against Klupeth, suddenly Rias received a call. Big brother. What's wrong? Rias suddenly said, making Issei stop his research. Hey, you want me and my peerage to return to the underworld for a leaders' summit? Okay, I understand. What? And Issei has to activate his Cardinal Crimson just as he enters the underworld. Rias said, making Issei activate his sacred gear. I see, so Klupeth really could attack at any time. I understand, we'll make preparations to leave right away. Rias said as she finally hung up the call. Issei. I'm ready whenever you are President Rias. Issei said with his sacred gear now on full display. As ordered by the Demon Lord, the Gremorys immediately rendezvoused in the living room and then from there transported through the front door of the underworld. Upon entry, Issei obeyed the Demon Lord's orders and began to chant. I, who is about to awaken, am the Red Dragon Emperor who has discarded the principles of domination. I shall walk the road of righteousness by having infinite hopes and dreams. I shall become the King of Crimson Dragon. And I promise you all I shall show you the future which shines in true crimson light, Issei chanted, causing a huge beam of crimson light to shoot out of all the gems on his scale mail. No matter how many times I see it, it's still such an amazing increase in power, Kiba said with a smile and a face that no longer showed any sign of fear or hesitation. Issei-senpai is so cool, Gasper said in awe of Issei's strongest armor. However, there was one person who secretly felt nervous and afraid when she felt that power emit from the Red Dragon Emperor. To the point where if she would not be afraid to have her tail out, it would at this moment be tucked between her legs in fear. It's okay, Issei-senpai isn't like Big Sister. I'm sure he won't let the power consume him. Kaneko thought to herself as her feet struggled to press onward. Kaneko-chan, are you okay? A concerned bishop asked her as she stopped to see to the timid rook. I'm okay. But thank you, Asia-senpai. Kaneko replied, trying her best to keep her emotions hidden. To think of it, Asia-senpai has been very strong since the last battle we had. I expected her to be upset and hesitate to approach Issei-senpai again. But it had the opposite effect. It gave her the push to further improve herself, and instead of pouting and feeling guilty, she asked the vice president to strengthen and improve her abilities. Meanwhile, I remain the same. I refuse to grow stronger. I can't afford to hurt my friends, Kaneko thought to herself as her and the Gremories opened the doors to the underworld. But little did Issei know, Surziches was up to his old tricks again. Look, it's the Crimson Dragon, a little boy said, staring in awe at the armored devil who now walked in his direction. Amazing it really is, said another child who abandoned his activity to gaze at the Sekiryutei, who for some reason was well known. The Crimson Dragon is the greatest, other children shouted, which on closer inspection, Issei realized were wearing hats with his balance breaker scale male form on. Don't lose to anyone, Crimson Dragon, a little female devil piped in, catching sight of him as well. Hey Crimson Dragon, don't let the bad guys take Princess Rias, said another little girl when Rias walked beside him. In fact, Issei noticed that most of the children were holding on to one item which seemed like merchandise of him. Some kids were wearing boosted gear gauntlets which turned out to be toys. Whereas, others were holding items like Sekiryutei drink bottles, t-shirts and even action figures, which Issei couldn't help but feel embarrassed when he saw them. As he walked past, he heard the same action figures speaking in his own voice, saying catchphrases like boosted gear, I will protect Rias, I won't forgive you, and balance break. It seems like my older brother is up to his old tricks again. Rias said, pointing Issei towards a poster of Issei's balance breaker armor above the words. Watch the exciting adventures of the savior of the underworld and his crimson-haired princess on the big screen. Crimson Dragon awakens the path of the Sekiryutei. The other Gremory members could tell Issei was embarrassed even with his helmet on as he stared at the movie poster. Issei pressed onwards, happily complying with children who asked for autographs and shook hands with any who asked for it. Until finally when he and the rest of the Gremories reached the meeting room. Surziches greeted them with a huge grin on his face. Ah, welcome Crimson Dragon, the savior of the underworld, Surziches said as Issei entered. Ah geez, give me a break. Can I at least open my helmet now? Issei asked as he felt it was rude to have it equipped in the presence of Ajuka and the other leaders. Ah, don't be like that, Issei-kun, the children all love you, you're their hero. Surziches said, making Issei smile. A hero, huh? I didn't think I deserved that title. But it certainly sounds nicer than the fallen angel assassin Nightwing. Issei said with a smile. Rias hugged his armored arm and apologized to him. I'm sorry Issei, big brother made me swear not to tell you about this until he could tell you himself. Issei smiled and pulled Rias close to him. Don't be silly Rias, it's to be expected from Surziches. Issei said, making Surziches chime in again. Geez Issei-kun, how many times have I told you to call me big brother? After all, you are going to be Rias' husband in the future. Surziches said, making Rias blush and smile. Surziches, how about we get to the real reason you summoned us here? Issei said, disrupting the relaxed atmosphere. Of course. Please all of you sit down. Everyone complied and took a seat as the meeting finally went underway. Our outside team has informed us that Volley's team is on the move in the underworld. Surziches said, making everyone alert. Do you know what he is after? Rias asked, taking on her role as leader. We're not sure. All we know is that he was spotted with a holy sword user, the staff user you already encountered Biku, and a woman with long black hair with the power of a Nekomata. Surziches said, making Kaneko clench her fists and slightly shiver. Until we are sure of their objective, we ask that you return to the Gremory castle and be prepared for them to show themselves again. Surziches said, in which Rias nodded. Big sister Kuroka. Kaneko mumbled to herself as she attempted to hide her anxiety. Meanwhile, a suspicious individual makes their way towards the Gremories and their meeting hall. What are we doing here exactly, Kuroka? Isn't it obvious? I'm here to collect my little sister. It's been so long since I've seen her, and I can personally vouch for her traits to be useful for our cause. Whatever, I just want to fight against the Sekiryutei. So when do we strike? Biku asked, getting excited. We wait until nightfall. Then we will make our move. Wait for me, Shirin. Kuroka said as she retreated back into the woods after gazing at the building her little sister was currently inside. Chapter 33 I've missed you Shirin. The meeting between the Gremories and the rulers of the underworld went on longer than it was expected. By time that Serziches had said the last word and was in preparation to dismiss the gathering, night had shrouded upon the sky. Well then Rias, you may now return to the castle and be prepared for battle. But be on your guard. The enemy could strike at any time. Serziches said to his little sister who nodded to show she understood. All of a sudden, shards of glass hit the carpet that everyone was currently standing on. A huge gaping hole was left through the now human-shaped gap in the window. All eyes gazed in the location the disturbance came from and immediately shifted their status of standby to high alert. Kaneko-chan Issei shouted as soon as he noticed she was now in danger. Yo Sekiryutei. Hero Princess. A voice said as they emerged from the shadows. Iku. What are you doing here? And what are you doing to a member of my household? Rias said beginning to revert to her title as the Ruined Princess. Put Kaneko down this instant Kiba ordered as he drew his sword. Sorry guys no can do. You see I'd love to stay and chat but I'm afraid Kuroka here is dying to see her little sister. Biku said as he now gestured to the struggling rook within his grasp. Put her down right now Rias ordered as her eyes shifted to their color of rage and unease. Whoa scary. Scary. Well then I'll see you around Biku said now holding a circular item in his hand. Don't move Biku Rias said as he threw the item down hard to the ground. All of a sudden, an enormous wall of smoke erupted from the small capsule and clouded the whole room with its white smoke. As the Gremory members coughed due to the newly introduced inhaled gas, Biku made his getaway with his cloudy easily soared through the skies with. The Red Dragon Emperor was unaffected by this surprise strike and as a result was able to focus on the direction that Kaneko was taking in. Rias we have no time to lose grab a hold of me and we will take off after them. Kiba I leave this gas to you and your sword birth. I'm counting on you to clear this and join us. Issei said as he placed his arms around Rias. Leave it to me Issei-kun. Kiba said as he summoned his black hole attribute sword. Let's go Rias Issei said as he took flight with his master cradled within his arms. Meanwhile, Kaneko and Biku had arrived at the drop-off point. And Kaneko was about to face the demons hidden within her past. Put me down you pervert Kaneko said after she successfully drove her fist into his nose mid-flight. Pervert. That's a bit harsh don't you think? Biku replied as he placed her petite feet back on the ground. That's the thanks I get for reuniting you with your only family. Biku said with a grin as the branches behind began to rustle and blow in the wind. It was after Biku said that the temperature in her body took a sudden drop as that person's figure emerged from the shadows of the night. Out from the trees came a young woman with a voluptuous figure, long black hair with split bangs, and hazel gold eyes. Kaneko began to shiver as soon as she saw that nostalgic black kimono and the golden beads that rattled as the wind struck them. It was Kuroka her older sister. It was only by her older sister's existence and knowledge alone that Kaneko was reminded of her first given name as she called out to her. Shirin it's been so long Kuroka said as she immediately closed the distance between them and wrapped her arms around Kaneko in a loving embrace. Big sister Kuroka. Were all the words Kaneko could at this moment in time say. It's so good to see you again my cute little kitten. Have you been eating alright? Have you made any friends? Kuroka inquired showing no signs of hostility or malice as she kindly spoke to her sibling. Sister, why are you here? Kaneko said as she was prepared to hear the worst. Why am I here? Isn't it obvious? I've come to pick you up Shirin. Kuroka said making Kaneko very still. What do you mean pick me up? Kaneko replied not expecting good news for what was to follow her question. I mean that I have finally secured a home for the two of us. So you no longer have to hide your true self anymore. Kuroka said making Kaneko want to run but her feet felt as if they cemented to the ground. Come to think of it, where are your cute little white ears Shirin? Kuroka said making Kaneko a bit scared in reflection of her hidden power. I don't want to use that power big sis. Kaneko said hoping that the topic would end with that. That doesn't matter Shirin, your big sister will train you how to use your senjutsu and your yujutsu. You'll be a Nekomata again before you even know it. Kuroka said grabbing her sister's hand. Kaneko remained on the spot when Kuroka tried to lead her away. Shirin. I don't want to go with you big sister. I want to stay with President Rias, Issei senpai and my friends. Kaneko said feeling a sudden build of courage inside her. What are you saying Shirin? You don't want to come with me? I'll protect you. Kuroka said full of confidence. I want to stay. Kaneko said again hoping her sister would receive the message. Shirin, do you want me to kill your master and your friends like I did our master? Kuroka said making Kaneko suddenly frightened. Because big sister will do it if you don't come with her right now Shirin. After all, I'm the only one who can protect Shirin and keep her safe. Kuroka said making Kaneko suddenly take a step forward. I understand big sis. Please don't hurt them. Kaneko said as she at that moment decided to comply with her sister's wishes. But girl. Let's go home Shirin. Kuroka said suddenly feeling a tight grip on her shoulder. What is the meaning of this? Kuroka barked at the person putting pressure on her person. That's my question Bishop of Volley's team Kuroka. A crimson-haired lady said as her servant kept a tight grip on the black cat's shoulder. I'm taking my sister home with me. Please don't interfere this has nothing to do with your Rias Gremory. Kuroka replied forcing Ria's servant to grip tighter. Don't buck with me I would rather die than let you take away Kaneko-chan when she has such a sad look on her face, Issei roared as he pushed Kuroka away from the now startled and awake Kaneko. Oh looks like I was followed. As expected of the legendary Sekiryutei and the Crimson Princess. Biku said with a grin as he sat idly on his cloud. I see, so you plan on preventing me from taking home my only family. Kuroka said with a hint of anger and irritation in her tone. That's my line cat thief. Kaneko Taoju is a member of the Gremory household. She is my servant and I won't allow you or her to make her go away so easily. You have no right to take her back after you almost sentenced her to death with your crime of killing your master. Ria shot back her arms now capturing Kaneko in a warm hug. I am the only one who can protect Shirin she is lying to herself while she stays with you people Kuroka snapped back showing hostility within her aura now. I took Kaneko in when she was alone. I gave her a name and welcomed her into my family. She is a precious family member to me. And I won't let anyone take her away from stability and happiness, Rias shot back feeling her own destructive power surface. Rias is right, we won't let you take Kaneko-chan away, she is an important person to me as well, and I will be damned if I will let her be taken away so easily, Issei roared as his boosted gear began to power up. President Rias Issei-senpai. Kaneko uttered with tears of joy. I see, then you have left me no choice. If you will not let me take Shirin peacefully, then I will take her by force, Kuroka said as a huge amethyst circle appeared and left with its passing a purple gas in the atmosphere. Suddenly, both Rias and the frightened Nekomata collapsed to the ground. My body it won't move. Rias said as she struggled to stand up. It's no use, with this poison mist, you will not be able to lift a finger as it restricts your muscles. Kuroka said suddenly deploying a circle as an armored fist suddenly smashed through it. Don't drop your guard so quickly, I'm still able to fight Issei shouted as he prepared to attack. It seems my powers have no effect on the Sekiryutei. No matter, I will take you down personally and prove to Shirin that the only one she can rely on to protect her is her sister, Kuroka said as she summoned several balls of fire. Bring it on I will show you firsthand the power of the Gremory household, Issei said as he once again boosted his power. Interesting. Then let's see that power you are boasting so much about Kuroka said as she summoned several blue flames around her. The black cat Kuroka fired the fireball she summoned simultaneously which exploded as soon as they made impact with Issei. Such a bore. What? Kuroka said when Issei emerged from the smoke completely unharmed. Is that all you have got? Dragon shot Issei said firing his red blast at the startled Nekomata. Kuroka leaped to the nearest tree branch to avoid Issei's attack. Firing more magical attacks at Issei afterwards. Issei raced towards the Senjutsu user and easily extinguished each fire attack that tried to touch his skin. Issei suddenly closed in on Kuroka stopping his fist inches away from her face. Don't make my cute cowhide cry ever again Issei said causing Kuroka to retreat backwards. As expected of the Sekiryutei. But how about this? Kuroka said as she sprouted her black twin tail. So you're finally taking this fight seriously? Very well, then I won't disappoint you, Issei yelled as he charged Kuroka. Suddenly, Kuroka used a trait of her Yujutsu power and created several copies of herself. You think this illusion will stop me? I won't need to find out who is the real you. I'll take you all down at once. Issei concentrated his magical power and began to create a dragon shot in both of his hands. Take this crimson dragon cannon Issei roared as a huge explosion of crimson light lit up the blackness in the sky. When the light vanished, Kuroka was nowhere in sight. Did she retreat? Rias said as she observed her surroundings. You're wrong Issei-senpai look out Kaneko yelled after she opened her eyes. Taoki. Kuroka using the power of her Senjutsu, strengthened her physical power and smashed her fist through Issei's armored abdomen and pierced through his flesh. A huge hole appeared on Issei's skin when Kuroka extracted her hand from the wound's entrance. Issei's body suddenly felt lifeless as he began to plummet to the ground after Kuroka retracted her hand. Crap I let my guard down. Issei said as he fell to the ground. Issei. Issei-senpai. The two girls rushed over to Issei whose armor had now been deactivated and a pool of blood leaked onto the floor where his body fell. Issei with all his strength sat himself up and now stared at his opponent who playfully licked the back of her hand. What did you just do to me? I can't summon any magical power and I feel so weak. Issei said as he struggled to remain conscious. It's simple really, I was reading your inner Kai whilst we fought, and once I managed to understand its flow, I was able to manipulate its flow and reverse it. Kuroka said as Issei began to fall unconscious. Damn it, I was careless. Issei said as he suddenly fell unconscious. Issei, hang in there, Issei. Rias said as she cradled his body in her arms. Now it's time to finish the job. This is your punishment for getting in my way, Sekiryutei, Kuroka said as she prepared to deliver the final blow. Just as Kuroka was about to strike, she found herself being pushed back by a tremendous force. When Kuroka regained her balance, she finally discovered the strength that blew her away. Haneko's fist still extended out as the Gremory's rook panted. So you intend to fight me, Shirin? Do you really think you stand a chance against me without using your Nekomata power? Kuroka said, making Kaneko nervous. I'm not done yet, I won't let you take Kaneko-chan away. Even if you are her sister, Issei yelled as he unconsciously walked towards the black cat with blood still exiting the wound. You can still move. Very well then, I will finish you, Kuroka said as she charged the life-threatened dragon wielder. Kaneko did the unexpected, which stopped both Issei and Kuroka in their tracks. Issei felt a huge pain in his stomach when Kaneko delivered a powerful punch to the already wounded Red Dragon Emperor. Kaneko-chan. Were Issei's last words before he collapsed in Kaneko's arms. President, please take care of Issei-senpai, I will fight Kuroka. Kaneko said as she positioned her hands for combat. Kaneko, you don't mean you're going to? Rias said, being cut off by Kaneko. Don't worry, I am not afraid anymore, President. After you and Issei-senpai worked so hard to protect me, I no longer see any reason to reject this power. I will accept it and protect you both. Kaneko stated as she now stared down her sister. What's that? You plan on fighting me head-to-head, Shirin? Kuroka asked playfully. I know how strong you are, big sister, and yes, I don't want to use this power that I fear so much. But, after Issei-senpai and President Rias have risked their lives so many times to protect me, I have decided that this time I will protect them. I will use this power, and this time I will master it and use it to protect Issei-senpai and my friends, Kaneko said as a white tail and cat ears appeared upon her body. I love that look in your eyes, Shirin, you have really grown. But it's true, if you master your Senjutsu power you may be able to save the Sekiryutei's life. That wound isn't too severe, but if you don't fix his Kai within 24 hours, his life will be over. No way, Issei will die. Rias said, now cradling Issei in her arms. But first you have to defeat me. Otherwise I'm taking you back with me. Show me your bonds you care so much about, Shirin, Kuroka said as she summoned a purple magic circle behind herself as she prepared for battle. Chapter 34, Catfight the Nekomata siblings. What's that? You plan on fighting me head-to-head, Shirin? Kuroka asked playfully. I know how strong you are, big sister, and yes, I don't want to use this power that I fear so much. But, after Issei-senpai and President Rias have risked their lives so many times to protect me, I have decided that this time I will protect them. I will use this power, and this time I will master it and use it to protect Issei-senpai and my friends, Kaneko said as a white tail and cat ears appeared upon her body. I love that look in your eyes, Shirin, you have really grown. But it's true, if you master your Senjutsu power you may be able to save the Sekiryutei's life. That wound isn't too severe, but if you don't fix his Kai within 24 hours, his life will be over. No way, Issei will die. Rias said, now cradling Issei in her arms. But first you have to defeat me. Otherwise I'm taking you back with me. Show me your bonds you care so much about, Shirin. Here I come, Kuroka yelled as she launched all of her blue flames that she had channeled. Kaneko, having just activated her Nekomata powers, realized that she didn't have the luxurious time to establish how to counter Kuroka's Senjutsu. As a result, the brawler placed up her guard and used her evil pieces perks to reduce the damage. However, Kaneko realized her mistake when the attack that seemed to be aimed towards her exploded in front of her, showing clear signs of a feint attack. Damn it, a feint, Kaneko said as she was sent flying by Kuroka's sneak attack to her back. Kaneko adjusted her position mid-flight and slammed her feet into the dirt, correcting her balance. Good job, Shirin. But, will you be able to block the next attack from an opponent too fast for you to see? Kuroka boasted as she showed off her increase in speed, jumping from the branches that surrounded her. Kaneko started to panic, only seeing the leaves fall to the ground with no sign of the person who dismantled them. Suddenly, Kaneko remembered something that Issei said to her when she was training with Kiba one day. Kaneko was battling against Kiba in the training studio at the Haidu residence. And Kaneko seemed to have the upper hand. That is until Kiba got serious and began to disappear from her sight. Kaneko, just like in the situation she is currently in, darted her eyes back and forth across the room in an attempt to locate her attacker. However, Kaneko wasn't calm, and with every area she searched, her focus began to falter and her nerves began to shake. It was then that Issei called out to her. Calm down, Kaneko-chan. When the enemy is moving faster than your eyes can follow, it is then you have to focus all of that wasted energy within your other senses. If you can't see him, listen for his footsteps. If you can't hear him, sense his demonic energy. And if you can't sense his cloaked presence, wait for the moment your opponent strikes, and then counter. Kaneko was brought back to reality and as a consequence, was finally able to calm herself down. A smile now imprinted on her face. Even though Issei wasn't there to cheer her on right now, he is still helping her win this fight. Kaneko closed her eyes and suddenly became still like a rock in the middle of a rushing river. She discarded all pointless worries and relaxed her mind. The wind howled through the branches of the towering trees, and Kaneko remained still. Only her whimsical cat ears twitching slightly as they captured the sound of the branches shivering, whilst a black cat leaped from tree to tree. Suddenly, Kaneko's hazel eyes shot wide open, and her fist rocketed in the direction behind her. Unfortunately, to Kaneko's irritation, she punched nothing but air and received another thunderous strike to her back. Very good, Shirin. But you're too slow, Kuroka said as she leaped down from the branches and propelled Kaneko into several trees behind her. Kaneko gripped her hands near her neck, trying to pry the terrifying claw that had wrapped around it. It's so cute seeing you struggle, Shirin. But don't do that. Didn't I tell you? Only big sister can protect you. So stop resisting and give up. Kuroka said, hoping this would crush Kaneko's fighting spirit. I refuse. Kaneko said, making Kuroka gasp. What did you say, my cute little kitten? The black cat lady said as she tightened her grip around her throat. I said I refuse. I want to stay with everyone. I want to eat more snacks with Gaspy, practice with Zenobia senpai and Kiba senpai. I want to play more games with Asia senpai. I want to continue to serve Akeno and Rias, the vice president and president of the Occult Research Club. And I also want to have more happy memories with Issei senpai, Kaneko said, now driving her foot into Kuroka's abdomen. The Cow's Brigade mage was sent back quite a distance thanks to the Gremory Rook's monster strength. I see, big sister gets it now, Shirin, you're in love with the Sekiryutei, aren't you? Kuroka said, making Kaneko gasp. I knew it well, I can't blame you, I mean his blood alone verifies his strength and potential as a future mate. Kuroka said as she licked the back of her hand, which was still covered with leftovers of Issei's blood. I won't let you hurt Issei senpai, big sister, Kaneko said, immediately bringing up her fists. Hurt him? Of course not, I just said it, didn't I? He has a lot of potential as a mate. After all, I always planned to have the blood of a dragon be infused into my future children. Kuroka said, making Kaneko shiver. What are you planning to do? Kaneko said as she fearfully awaited her sister's reply. Isn't it obvious, Shirin? I'm going to steal the Sekiryutei from you, and then you'll definitely have to come back to me, Kuroka said as she licked her scarlet lips. Suddenly, Kuroka disappeared again and rushed towards the dripping mess of the Red Dragon Emperor. No, Kaneko screamed as she anticipated this movement and blocked the cunning cat's path. Oh, you still think you can beat me, Shirin? Kuroka said as she stared at the silver-haired devil who showed no sign of budging. Big sister, I won't let you take Issei senpai away from all of us, Kaneko screamed, suddenly launching blue flames that instantly appeared in her hands. Kuroka leaped backwards and avoided Kaneko's sudden senjutsu strike. Oh, not bad, little sis. Kuroka teased, springing Kaneko into action. I'm just getting started, Kaneko said as she leaped high into the air with her Nekomata enhancement power. Take this, Kaneko said as she came down on her opponent with an axe kick strike. Kuroka quickly blocked the attack but was not aware of Kaneko's next sneaky follow-up. Kaneko dropped to the ground and rammed her shoulder into the unsuspecting girl's stomach. You certainly are stronger than me in a close quarters brawl, Shirin, but big sister is better at using senjutsu and yujutsu. Kuroka said as she now used the same strategy in her fight against Issei. Kaneko learned from her mistakes and put all of her faith in her Nekomata powers and sensed for Kuroka's hidden figure. Kaneko was hit by countless waves of senjutsu flames in an attempt to throw her concentration off. However, Kuroka was not aware of how much damage Kaneko could take as the rook of the Gremory household. You're there, Kaneko said after she sensed the strong and menacing aura of the hidden Cow's Brigade fighter who stood behind her. Kuroka groaned in pain after the thunderous punch successfully connected with her gut. Instantly after, Kuroka was staring up towards the sky after she was sent sky high by Kaneko's combo finishing uppercut strike. So it's going to be that kind of fight, is it? Very well then, you leave me no choice, Shirin. Aoki, Kuroka said as her whole body was enveloped with this powerful performance enhancer. Kaneko was blown away by the terrifying force of Kuroka's deadly counter. The punch ruined her school top, but if it wasn't for Kaneko's tough guard she put up at the last minute, it was obvious that Kaneko would be in the same situation as Issei right now. Kaneko once again remembered Issei's words. Wait for them to strike and then counter. The white cat leaped and ensnared Kuroka's arm with her tight arm lock with her legs crushing the support of it. "It's not going to work," Hiroka yelled as she effortlessly lifted Kaneko off the ground and then slammed her back down onto it with great force. Just as Kuroka was about to do the same to get Kaneko off, Kaneko, once she was lifted again, released her grip and vaulted over Kuroka, planting her foot into her back with a colossal kick. Kuroka once again took the damage from Kaneko's attack. However, thanks to the perks of her opponent's Taki, it wasn't too long until the Black Cat was on the attack again. It was an all-out brawl between the siblings now, each using their power to the best of their abilities. Kaneko was now able to predict the timing of Kuroka's Senjutsu flame attacks, and as a result, she was able to use her super strength to extinguish them before they could cause her any harm. "Amazing, absolutely amazing, Shirin, you're using that power so well now, this is getting exciting," Kuroka said, showing her obvious joy for this fight between the sisters. "Be quiet, I will not let you win, big sister," Kaneko said, determined to come out of this fight a winner so she could return back with everyone. "Calm down, little sis, I've had a change of heart." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if you come with me now, I will happily restore your beloved Sekiryutei's balance to his Kai and save his life," Kuroka said, which with reasons beyond her understanding, angered Kaneko further. "No, definitely no, I don't want you to touch Issei senpai in that way," big sister Kaneko yelled, now engaging in combat with her sibling again. Kaneko showed the appearance of a ferocious cat now as it protected their ideal mate. The Rook of the Gremories dashed towards her opponent, dealing out punch after punch in explosive combinations. Kuroka kept her Taki active as she dodged strikes from her little sister, to whom now had the eyes of a ferocious tiger as she protected her most precious loved one. Kaneko unlocked a new power, summoning several flames at once, launching them at her sister, who did not expect this sudden attack. Kuroka instantly shifted from defense to offense and began her counterattack against Kaneko. Kaneko, now used to her heightened senses, blocked and evaded strike after strike. "Are you sure you can afford to be so stubborn, Shirin?" Kuroka asked, showing no changes in Kaneko's movements. "I mean, if you don't accept my kind offer, or even if you decide to save him yourself, there is one thing you fail to realize. If you fail in both of these options, the Red Dragon Emperor will die," Kuroka said, making the words themselves sting the hearts of Kaneko and the Crimson Princess, who still held his almost lifeless body close to her. "Shut up," Kaneko screamed as she continued her anger-fueled assault. Kuroka used this opportunity of Kaneko's unease and delivered a critical hit to the scared catgirl when she suddenly dropped her guard. Hit head-on by Kuroka's fully powered Taki punch, Kaneko suffered intense pain as her light body shot through the air and crashed with a painful thud not too far from Issei and Rias. "I'm not giving up," Kaneko said as she stood herself up and wiped the blood away from her mouth. "Shirin, give up, you can't beat me with the powers you currently possess. If you continue to fight against me, you're going to die just like Haidu," Issei, Kuroka said, making Rias hurt again. "I refuse to surrender, not after how far I have come," Kaneko said as she once again stood her ground and positioned herself in a fighting stance. "It can't be helped, I will make you lose consciousness, and then I will heal you once we return home," Kuroka said as she too prepared to finish this battle. Kaneko and Kuroka began to charge towards each other in what would be a blood-stained fist brawl. However, both Nekomatas ceased their charge and skidded to a halt just as they were about to collide. "I will not let you die," Rias mumbled. All of a sudden, a huge and suffocating explosion of demonic aura awakened from the ruined princess surrounding her and Issei in a tainted crimson light. "President Rias," Kaneko said as she shivered from the immense power and the malice that hid inside it. "Kuroka, how dare you to my Issei," Rias said as the trees began to disintegrate just being within her reach. "This is bad, I have to take her out now," Kuroka said, suddenly being grabbed by Biku on his fleeing cloud. "What are you doing, Biku? Let go of me. Have you noticed yet? Loki's awakened, but how? Bali wants us to head back so we can discuss where to go from here," Biku said as they both escaped from that painful aura. "Shirin, I will leave for now. But you will realize one day that you can't be protected by anyone else but me," Kuroka thought to herself as she and Biku escaped from certain death. Meanwhile, Rias Gremory's power of destruction was beginning to spiral out of control. "President Rias, please calm down. They are gone now," Kaneko desperately cried out. "Calm down? How could I? Look what they did to Issei, I won't forgive them," Rias screamed, destroying more of her surroundings. Kaneko realized the best thing to do would be to get Issei away from Rias so she could begin with the treatment. The problem was the suffocating aura that Rias had shrouding around herself and him. "This is bad, I need to get the others," Kaneko said as she proceeded to flee back to the meeting room. "Don't make a face like that, Rias, I've not kicked the bucket just yet," a voice said, making Rias instantly calm down. "Issei," was all Rias could say as the Red Dragon Emperor regained consciousness. "I'm sorry to worry you like that, Rias. But I think I'm going to be okay," Issei said, smiling afterwards, hoping this would help soothe Rias' heart. "Issei," Rias shouted out as her arms wrapped around him. Thank you so much for not leaving me, Rias said as her tears began to stain his shirt. Of course I wouldn't. I promised to never leave your side, Rias. Issei said, making Rias break down completely. Kaneko broke up the loving atmosphere with some bad news. He's not out of danger yet. What do you mean, Kaneko? Rias said, showing despair on her face. It's just like my big sister said, she altered his life force. So unless it's reverted back to normal with Senjutsu, he will die in 24 hours. Kaneko said, making Rias panic. No way. Don't worry, Rias, everything is going to be fine. Issei said, once again calming the poor girl down. What do you mean, Issei? Rias said, showing obvious confusion. Well, Kaneko-chan can help me after all. Right, Kaneko-chan? Issei said, now looking at the surprised Rook. But Issei-senpai, I'm not sure I can do it. Kaneko said with a sad look. Issei suddenly moved towards the scared junior and patted her head. I believe in you, Kaneko-chan, please heal me. Issei said with a smile, lifting up Kaneko's spirits. Of course, Issei-senpai, I promise to turn you back to normal, Kaneko said, making Issei smile. Thank you, Kaneko-chan, Issei said, once again patting her head. After all, Issei-senpai is an important person to me as well, Kaneko mumbled, forgetting Issei's heightened hearing. Issei pretended he didn't hear her and just smiled. Well then, President Rias, I will be borrowing Issei-senpai for a while. Kaneko said, suddenly taking his hand and walking off. Eh? What are you talking about, Kaneko? I haven't spent any time with Issei alone since we got here, Rias said, her cute jealous side awakening. Kaneko grinned and raced back inside, finding an unoccupied bedroom and shutting the doors behind them. Well then, Issei-senpai, please lie down on the bed. Kaneko said, removing her ruined top. Okay. I'll leave everything to you, Kaneko-chan. Issei said as he lay on his back. Okay, I'm going to begin treating you now. Kaneko said as she shyly lay down on top of Issei's toned chest and began to emit a refreshing blue light. Kaneko blushed as she pressed herself against Issei's torso and heard the sound of his heartbeat pounding against her eardrum. How's it, Issei-senpai? Kaneko asked nervously. Yeah. It feels nice. I can feel your power purifying the wrongs Kuroka did to my life force. Issei said as Kaneko fluster-struck carried on with the procedure. I see, that's good. Kaneko said as she relaxed on top of him. Issei-senpai. Kaneko said with a quiet and shy voice. What is it, Kaneko-chan? Issei replied. Are you afraid of me? My new power, is it scary? Of course not, Kaneko-chan, how could I ever be scared of my cute cowhide? Issei said as she patted her on the head. But what if my power goes out of control and I end up like my big sister? I won't let that happen to you, Kaneko-chan. If push comes to shove, I will definitely step in and stop you going down the wrong path. Issei-senpai. We'll work together and stop that from happening, Kaneko-chan. Issei said, finally putting Kaneko's mind at ease. There is a more efficient way within Senjutsu to increase its healing properties. Would you like to hear what that is? Kaneko asked, awaiting Issei's reply. Yes, of course, I'm always interested to learn more about Senjutsu. Issei said, giving Kaneko the clear okay. Okay, well, here goes. The most efficient way to utilize Senjutsu's healing properties is the bedroom thing. What do you mean? You know Hex, Kaneko said with a shy tone. Oh, I see. Issei replied, clearly showing his shock and surprise. You don't want that? Kaneko asked with a curious-looking stare. Before Issei could answer, the doors to the room suddenly burst open, revealing a very angry and jealous ruined princess who could no longer hold herself back after what Kaneko just said. That's enough of that, Kaneko. Issei is my Issei, Rias said, suddenly clinging to Issei's arm on the other side of the bed. Then I will take this place from now on as my own. Kaneko said as she curled up into a ball on Issei's lap. Hey Kaneko, what do you think you are doing? Kaneko, Rias yelled, revealing to everyone else in the building the crisis was over. Chapter 35. Get ready for the Kuo Academy Sports Festival. He's my Issei. Rias Gremory gazed out of the Gremory Express's train window, taking one last look at the amethyst-shaded sky as the vehicle whisked away from what was left of the Rias' grand homeland. Rias knew full well that as she took one last glimpse of her territory, it would not be long until they returned once again. However, whether this would be for reasons of joy or misfortune had not yet become certain. Rias shook her head to discard her thoughts of negativity towards what the future may have in store for her and her peerage. After all, the red-haired teen had so much happiness to reflect on for the past couple of months. Hiba took up his sword again, and his resolution is clear and sharp. Kaneko has conquered her fear of her power and is beginning to move forward. Everybody in the peerage had now recovered and they're stronger than ever. It was at that moment that Rias realized the cause for all the progress in the Gremories. Issei. Rias just then remembered another reason to be happy. After all, she was engaged to Issei. The Gremory's king was suddenly forced out of her daydream when a noise disrupted her peaceful mind. Naya. There it was again. And this time, Rias found the source of it. Kaneko, just what do you think you're doing? Rias inquired with a flushed face and an irritated tone. Rias? Issei said, suddenly realizing what Kaneko was doing. Kaneko rubbed her eyes and looked straight up at the president. This place is where I find the most peace, Naya. Kaneko said, making Rias pout. No, definitely not. Issei is mine and mine alone, Rias replied, showing her human teenage girl side of jealously. Kaneko, no fair, Asia said, almost tearing up. Kaneko, don't you think you're being a bit disobedient to your master? Rias said with a menacing glare. Her destructive powers beginning to surface. Issei senpai makes me feel safe and calm. So I won't give this spot away to anyone else, Kaneko replied back, seriously, making Rias pout. To think that even Kaneko-chan has opened her heart to Issei. Rias, you need to learn to share Issei-kun with all of us. Akeno said with a teasing grin. But Rias said, feeling she had been defeated by both her queen and rook. Issei decided to not move Kaneko and patted her head. It looks like we're going to be busy when we get back to school tomorrow though. Issei said, changing the subject to diffuse the tension and unease in the room. Oh, that's right, our school is having training sessions for the sports festival in a week's time, right? Asia replied, sensing Issei's desire to drop the previous topic. Yes, Urziches looked especially excited with his camera in hand. Issei said, followed by a light chuckle. Geez, big brother always acts like that when there is an event going on at school. Rias said with a sigh afterwards. I know what you mean, he has always been like that for as long as I have known him. He was always bragging how he was going to be filming Rias. Speaking of that, how did he hold out the urge to call out to you as well, Issei? After all, you have known each other for 6 years, right? Rias replied with a smile. Yeah, he always sulked afterwards that he couldn't get my attention. But that's just how determined he was to keep my identity secret from you. Issei said with a grin whilst he scratched his hair. Rias blushed and then started to reminisce about her first meeting with Issei. And upon reflection, it amazed her how close Issei has been to her all this time. On that topic, which events are you taking part in again, Issei-kun? Akeno asked Issei, who still had Kaneko sound asleep on his lap. Haha, well, I get nominated for a bunch of stuff by my class all the time because I do very well in sports. But last time I checked, I think I'm participating in the borrowing race, the 1500 meters, the co-ed relay and the three-legged race. Issei said, making Asia blush. Ah, with Asia, correct? Akeno said, making Asia frown. Issei-sen would be better off with somebody else. I'm probably going to hold him back and fall over all the time. Asia said, showing clearly her lack of confidence. Nonsense, Asia, I feel reassured knowing that you're my partner for the race. I have complete faith that the two of us will definitely make first place, so smile, okay? You can do anything you set your mind to, Asia. Issei said, making Asia smile. Thank you, Issei-san. I will try my best, Asia said with a sudden rush of confidence. The same goes for you, Issei. Don't disappoint me out there. Rias said, making Issei respond with a smile. Of course I won't, Rias. After all, now I have someone I don't want to let down. Issei replied, making Rias blush and smile. And so a week passed for the Gremories, who spent their time practicing for the upcoming event at Kuo Academy. And now the Gremories walk through the school gates and go to their quarters ready to compete for their classrooms and their individual pride. Well then, Kiba, I'll see you out on the field. Issei said, making Kiba look seriously at him. Issei-kun, even though you are a treasured friend of mine, I also see you as my rival, so please don't go easy on me, and I promise as a man to do the same. Kiba said, extending his hand out to Issei. Issei smiled and shook Kiba's hand. Of course, Kiba. I wouldn't have it any other way. Issei replied as they both went to their own classrooms to get changed. Meanwhile, an interesting plan was being scheduled at this very moment by the third-year girls. Hey, do you girls want to go see something wonderful? A third-year girl said, attracting the attention of various other girls. What is it, Anne? A brunette girl said, eager to hear what she was talking about. Isn't it obvious? I'm sure the thought has crossed all of our minds at some point. I'm talking about taking a sneak peek at Haidu while he prepares for the festival. The girl whose name was revealed as Anne stated. Anne-san is so bold, one student said, clearly on board with this crafty suggestion. I want to see, another girl said, who began to follow Anne out the door along with other spectators. Oh my, whatever will you do, Rias? So many girls are going to stare at your fiancé. Akeno said, enjoying teasing Rias more than anything. Isn't that obvious? Let's go, Akeno, Rias said as she clearly stomped out of the room. It was just as Rias and Akeno feared, tons of eyes began to stare through the cracks of the slightly open doorway to Issei's classroom 2C. Look, Haidu-san is taking his top off, one girl said, on the brink of a nosebleed once Issei's abdominal muscles began to show on full display. Let me see, said another as she forced her way in front. Our Issei-kun appears to have multiple admirers. Akeno said calmly until she noticed the expression on her king's face. The my Issei, they keep staring at my Issei, unforgivable, Rias said under her breath as she tried her best not to lose her composure at school. Arias came over as well. Here Rias, do you want to take a peek as well? Ayan said, unaware of Issei and Rias' true secret bond. However, this suggestion calmed Rias down and she happily jumped at the chance to stare at her handsome servant. Rias didn't say a word now as she dedicated all of her concentration and focus on Issei as he stripped his attire piece by piece. Before Rias noticed, she found herself being drawn in by the brown-haired teen. Close enough that Issei managed to catch a glimpse of her. Issei identified Rias instantly and happily sent a wink and his brightest smile her way. Rias began to match her shade of her hair as her face began to redden from Issei's sneaky counter-strike. All of the girls happily retreated, feeling that the gesture Issei just showed was for them personally. It was at moments like this that Rias was so glad that Issei was hers and hers alone. However, it's after incidences like what had happened just now that Rias wants to come clean about her connection to him as his girl. As his fiancé. Nevertheless, Rias always holds herself back from doing so, even though she wants to shout out to the skies above. This is because Rias truly cares for Issei and believes this action would be enough to keep Issei safe and harassment-free. With that, Rias turned back and prayed for her treasured pawn's triumph as she looked forward to seeing once again how cool and outstanding her servant truly is. Chapter 36. Go for the Gold Kuo Academy. Fireworks soared into the air and exploded throughout the atmosphere, marking the clear signal that the festival had in fact begun. Welcome all contestants and spectators once again to Kuo Academy's spectacular sports festival. I am your commentator Sekiryutei. If you're just tuning in, the first year and second year boys are now approaching the starting line for the 1500 meters race. Kiryu said as the racers began to take their starting positions. The most exciting of the students and those who are also predicted to win are known as the two princes of this school. Representing class 2B we have Sekiryutei. And from class 2C we have isseihyoudou. Issei-kun, remember what I said before. I'm going for the win today, Kiba said as he began to get into his starting position. Bring it on, let's show the world the strength of the men who serve Rias Gremory, Issei replied, responding to the announcer and getting into his own starting position. On your marks, get set, go. And with that, the gun signal sounded and the racers took off like bullets fired from the barrel. And they're off there fast as expected. The two leaders of this event are Sekiryutei and isseihyoudou, Kiryu said as she now got into the spirit of commentating. It seems these two are neck and neck, and oh, they don't seem to be slowing down despite the sharp turn coming up ahead. But it seems this turn had no effect on either of the pair's speed and focus. Issei and Kiba ran shoulder to shoulder as if they were conjoined twins or even contestants in the three-legged race. Sorry Issei-kun, but I'll be going ahead now. Kiba said as he suddenly picked up speed and passed Issei like a howling wind. Oh, and it seems Kiba has broken the cycle and has pushed onwards towards the finish line, Kiryu said as Kiba sped to the halfway point of the track. Issei grinned and then decided to dip into his reserves he had stockpiled inside. I won't lose, Kiba. Issei said to his comrade, tapping him on the back as he passed him. It's not over yet, Issei-kun, Kiba said as he began to pick up the pace as well. However, something was wrong here. No matter how fast Kiba tried to run, his feet showed no sign of closing the distance between him and Issei. As Kiba's speed increased, Issei managed to still hold a strong lead. Damn it, is this not enough? Kiba thought to himself as he saw Issei close in on the finishing line. And it's over, it was a close shave, but it seems that our winner for the 1500 meters is isseihyoudou, followed by Sekiryutei in second place. Oh, and here comes the rest of the contestants, Kiryu said as the other participants approached the finishing line about 3 minutes later. I will obtain all of the top ranks for my president. Issei said, causing a huge scream to originate from a huge crowd that had begun to form by the racing track. The group of girls in matching clothes cheered with all of their might. Their pom-poms shaking vigorously in the air. This group of girls made Issei's popularity very evident to the public as they all wore red t-shirts with words such as, isseihyoudou is the best, isseihyoudou class 2C and go Issei. Hi, who is that racer? One girl said, deciding to join the huge crowd that supported the gold medalist. Hey, you don't know him? He's isseihyoudou-kun, a second year said in response to the newbie's question. Wow, I want to drag him into class 2D, another girl said as she screamed at the top of her lungs. Hey, is it true he doesn't have a girlfriend? Of course not, Hyoudou-kun is a mystery and nobody has been able to unravel him. Ayan said as Issei walked over to the runner-up. Ria's tolerance for these girls gawking at her future husband had finally hit its peak. So Rias marched towards the crowd and decided to show them how it's done. As she created her own cheerleading uniform with her magic. The crafty third year put herself on display at the front, declaring herself to the rest of them that she was the center of Issei's world. Are you alright, Kiba? Issei said, offering a hand out to his friend as he sat on the floor. Yes, thank you, Issei-kun. It's my complete defeat, you're really horrible, you know that. Speed is supposed to be my specialty. Kiba said, taking Issei's hand to get up. Well, I guess I did get a bit carried away. But it was only because you suddenly passed me like that, Kiba. It really surprised me. Well, it seems I have more training to do then. I won't lose next time, Issei-kun, Kiba said, extending his hand out to Issei. I'm not going to hold back next time either, Issei said as he accepted Kiba's handshake. Next up we have the borrowing race racers take your places, Kiryu announced, causing Issei to report to his next event. Isseihyoudou, I guess it's time for us to settle this once and for all. Which of us is the greatest pawn? Saji said, now standing next to the pawn of the Gremory household. Sure thing, but I don't intend on losing to you. After all, my president is giving it her all to cheer me on. Issei said with a smile as he gazed at his energetic fiancée, who began to cheer for him with all of her heart. Issei, don't even think about losing to your president, proud Rias said. Well, be that as it may, I also can't afford to lose here, Haidu. I mean, I want to look cool to a certain someone as well. Saji said as he now gazed over towards Zona Citri, the student council president. On your marks, get set, go, the referee said, causing the pawn of the Citri house and Gremory house to shoot off. Wow, what a start. Saji of the student council team and Issei have shot off from the starting point, leaving the others in the dust, Kiryu said, making Matsumoto irritated to be losing from the very start. Oh, and seems that the two leaders have reached their envelopes. Now what will the item be that they have to find to cross the finishing line? Kiryu announced as both Issei and Saji tore open their envelopes. I can't afford to waste time, Saji is a formidable opponent, so I have to quickly check and then take off. Issei thought to himself as he pulled out the white paper. Suddenly, Issei's eyes shot wide open and a smile printed across his face. Hey look, doesn't it look like Haidu is coming this way? One of the cheerleaders said as he ran towards them. Hey, you're right, another said, showing the excitement on her face as he rapidly approached the crowd. Will you please come with me? Issei said to that one lucky girl he offered his hand out to. Amy? You need me to cross the finishing line. The fortunate and excited girl said, spreading jealously amongst the other girls. Of course, please come with me. Issei said, picking her up in a princess carry instantly after. Hey? Hold on tight, Rias. Issei said with a smile, causing the surprised third year to blush as she relaxed her arms around his neck. Issei took off like a rocket, Rias laughing in his arms as they approached the finish line at a fast pace. I'm not finished yet, Haidu, Saji said as he began to catch up with Issei, a pair of glasses held in his hand. Time for me to show you how much effort I put in when my president is watching me personally, Issei said as he once again astounded another one of his rivals with his superior effort and abilities. Looks like I, just like Kiba, have more training to do, Saji said as he was powerless to advance further than Issei. And once again, Issei wins the gold, followed by Saji of the student council and Matsumoto of class 2C. Kiryu announced as the race came to an end. Sorry for picking you up like that so suddenly, Rias. Issei said with a blush on his face after he just realized how bold he acted in front of everyone else. It's okay, Issei, after all, it is my job as your master to support you. By the way, what was it you had to borrow to win the race? Rias asked, curious too as how she was so lucky to be picked. See for yourself. Issei said, handing her the paper. No way. Rias said as she realized how special and lucky she was. Rias read the words clearly on the piece of paper which read, cheerleader. It just occurred to Rias how special she must be for Issei to choose her out of every other girl there, when this act alone could have made their relationship discovered. When he had other alternatives to choose from in order to avoid this from happening. She also realized how lucky she was and how her jealousy somehow managed to help her for a change. Because in fact, if Rias decided to ignore Issei's fan club of cheerleaders and decided to not become a cheerleader herself, she would have had to witness Issei carry another girl across that finishing line. Rias blushed and felt like she wanted to embrace Issei there and then. To thank her lucky stars that she met Issei and for her brother who resurrected him as a devil. But she held back the urge. Telling herself she would show Issei her gratitude in a more secluded and private area. So she did all she could do at this point. You did great. Congratulations. Rias said, making a certain individual carrying a bucket of water behind them very frustrated. Why is it always Issei? The individual thought to themselves as they walked towards him. Matsumoto was so steamed that it would not be surprising if the bucket of water he collected for the borrowing race were to start to boil in his hands. A mischievous grin appeared on his face as he emptied the contents of the bucket, aiming it towards Rias now as she had changed back into her white PE t-shirt. President Rias, Issei shouted as he managed to defend Rias' uniform from becoming see-through, much to Matsumoto's disappointment and to the overwhelming delight of the girls of the Issei fan club. Wow, look, that idiotic pervert, Matsumoto did something right for a change. "I look at those muscles," another girl said, seeing Issei's muscular form previously concealed under his t-shirt. "Ah, I want him right now," one girl said, and it was indeed a tough task for Rias Gremory to stop herself from saying right now that they couldn't have him. "I Issei-sama have my babies," another girl said, which suddenly irritated the sapphire-haired knight of the Gremory household, as well as Rias this time. But Rias calmed herself down and instead offered him a towel for the one she cared for the most. Whilst most girls of the Gremory household remained focused on the festival and Issei, one poor girl was worrying herself to death as her participation in this important competition was only moments around the corner. "Geez, it comes in handy to know magic sometimes." "Oh hey Asia," Issei said as he snuck round the corner to dry himself off. "What's wrong? Are you feeling nervous?" Issei said, now sitting down next to her as she pressed her back against the wall. "Yeah, a little bit I guess," Asia replied weakly, trying to not make eye contact. "There is nothing to be worried about, Asia. Just do the same as we did at practice," Issei said, but to no avail as the blonde-haired girl still showed no confidence. "I'm worried that I will let you down at the most critical point. I'm not good at sports and I'm always being helped by others. Maybe it would be best if I forfeit. Better to quit than to have everyone see you lose," Issei-san, Asia yelled. However, she was not expecting to be in Issei's arms after she finished shouting. "Issei-san," Asia said as she suddenly calmed down. "Have you calmed down now?" Issei asked, and in response to his question she weakly nodded. Issei let her go and then placed his arms on Asia's shoulders, looking directly into her eyes. "Asia, look at me. You have worked just as hard as anyone ever since you became a part of the Gremories. Not only did you not hate me after finding out who I am, you asked Rias to make you her servant so you could help me when I need you the most. And so what if we lose? That doesn't matter one bit to me. There will be times where we won't win. All we have to do is dust ourselves off and then become stronger. Issei-san. You're an incredible person to me and one of the people I treasure the most. It makes me happy to have such a dependable person having my back for me. So let's go, Asia. Stay by my side and help me achieve the impossible," Issei said, extending out his hand out to her. "Issei-san," Asia said, doing the unexpected. Asia threw her shaking arms around Issei's neck and collided her lips into his as if they were being pulled in by a strong magnetic force. "I won't lose to the president or anyone else," Asia said after she let go of him. "Asia. Racers for the three-legged race report to the starting line now," Kiryu announced as if she were playing the role as Asia's wingman to break the awkward atmosphere. Asia, with a huge adrenaline rushing through her, offered out her hand to Issei and was ready to win this. "Let's go, Issei-san. That's us," Asia said with a huge smile. Issei smiled and took her hand to get to his feet and then made his way with her to the event. Asia was now feeling on cloud nine as she matched Issei's movements perfectly, as if they were her own limbs she were in sync with. The former sister of the church felt as if she was walking on air as she and Issei effortlessly crossed the finishing line, making the others in comparison seem like the worst matchups. "Just one more to go," Issei said as he breathed a sigh of relief and made his preparations for the final event, the mixed gender relay. Issei put on his jersey and tightened his red headband as he got in his position as the last runner. The order for the relay went like this: Asia, Motohama, Zenobia and finally Issei. Get back, it's not safe to be so close to the track. Get back," a teacher said to the crowd of Issei fans, which continued to grow in size. The race took off at the sound of the gun and Asia was still showing signs of unnerving confidence. "Motohama-san," Asia yelled as she passed the baton to the second of the perverted duo. "Leave it to me, Asia-chan," Motohama replied with a huge blush on his face. "Zenobia-chan, here you go," Motohama said as he clumsily dropped the baton at her feet and grazed her bottom. "You idiot, what do you think you're doing?" Zenobia said as she bent down to pick up the discarded item. All of a sudden, a second-year girl from class 2A pushed her from behind the minute she received her own baton. "Oops, sorry friend," the girl said as Zenobia tasted the dirt of the ground. "Ah, what a failure," one girl said to the girl who currently lay on the ground. "How could she let down Issei-sama?" Another evil spite sounded out. And just when it was almost Haidu's turn to win yet another gold for class 2C. "What a klutz," another girl said, undermining Zenovia's confidence. With her uniform covered in dirt and wrinkled, Zenobia ran with tears of frustration appearing upon her face as she hopelessly fell behind the others. "Damn it, I'm a disgrace. How could I be so careless? I told Issei that he could count on me. And now, his amazing streak he worked so hard to get will be tainted by my stupid actions," Zenobia thought to herself as the final runners for the other class already took off. However, Zenobia saw something that she at this point did not expect. Issei wasn't showing a face of shame or disappointment, in fact it was the complete opposite. Issei was smiling directly at her with his hand out ready. Zenobia shook away her pessimism and successfully handed the baton to Issei. And just before he took off, Issei whispered this in her ear. "You did great, now leave the rest to me, Zenobia." Issei said as he took off with incredible speed. It looks like Class 2 is going to win this event. Wait, hang on, is that? It is Isseihyoudo has achieved the impossible and caught up with the leader even after his team's accident. No wait, fantastic, he has passed Class 2A's leader, Kiryu said, unable to contain her excitement. Oh wait, Class 2 is up to something, a sweep. Class 2 is playing dirty and is trying to do the same as they did to Class 2C's Zenobia and are trying to trip Issei just as he caught up. Hang on, the plan has failed. Class 2C is the winner. Just as the male runner of Class 2 stuck out their foot, Issei vaulted over the hurdle and won by a nose hair, Kiryu said, making the crowd go wild for the victors of the festival. Class 2C had won by a landslide victory and had earned first place and the gold trophy to mark their glorious triumph. Back at the Hyoudo household. After a draining day of school, it was no surprise that everybody just wanted to eat and then hit the hayride afterwards. Issei lay in bed with Rias by his side and relaxed his mind into a deep sleep. Issei opened his eyes again. But he did not see his room or Rias. In fact, he saw nothing but a white void. Issei recognized that he was not in the SacredGear. As normally, there would be a table with the previous Sekiryuteis in here also. No, this was definitely different. Suddenly, a voice sounded in the background. No, please don't hurt my family, a voice said, making Issei spin around in a panic. Whine all you want, you pathetic human, and say hello to God for me, an evil voice said, making the dull and white void darken with colors of black and red. Issei stood in a puddle of red liquid and viewed his reflection. He was 11 years old again and this was his worst memory. Issei yelled, begging the maniacal woman to stop as he saw once again his parents' murder. Then came his turn. If you want to blame anyone for this, blame God for what he gave to you. And with that, it all went black and Issei had been killed yet again. Normally at this point, Issei would wake up and the nightmare would be over. However, this time, he seemed to hear a second act. Dear, where is he? We've looked everywhere, a panicked woman's voice said, which sounded very familiar. Calm down, honey, we will find him. After all, this is a big place. A gentleman said, trying to calm the frantic female. But we've looked for years, dear. You don't think that he was sent? Don't say that, don't even think it, he was a good boy and he is our son, don't give up hope. We will find him. A voice said, suddenly pulling Issei out of his sleep. Issei sat up from his bed and his heart was racing at 100 miles per hour. The frightened red dragon emperor was coated in river sweat which covered his entire body. Issei breathed heavily and his lungs began to go out of control as he struggled to pull himself together. Suddenly, a warm source of heat and a soothing spirit embraced him, almost instantly calming down his quickly beating heart. Issei turned to his back and saw her embracing him from behind. Rias? Issei, what's wrong? Rias asked curiously, knowing full well that Issei had not in the slightest had a nice rest. Chapter 37, The Darkness Behind the Door. This story contains flashback scenes which are narrated by Issei. To avoid confusion, I am going to put Issei's narration speaking in brackets to help. Enjoy the chapter. Rias? Issei said in between panicked breaths. Issei, what's wrong? You're covered in sweat, Rias said, placing her hand on his abdomen. All of a sudden, Issei felt an intense pain in the exact spot Rias just touched him. Issei looked down at where Rias' hand was supposed to be. However, what Issei saw was not Rias' hand. Issei began to panic again as he gazed at the burning holy spear plunged into his stomach and the blood that dripped from his open wound. Ah, Issei yelled as he tried to pry the spear out of his stomach. Issei, calm down, what's wrong? Rias shouted, trying her best to calm him down and find out what was causing so much pain. It hurts, why is the wound still there? Why is it still bleeding? Issei shouted as he still tried to remove Rias' hands. Rias thought quickly and finally made Issei submit and calm once again as she pulled him close into her chest, offering her person as a way to bring him back to reality. Issei reached out and touched the soft sensation that awakened him from his confusion and gazed up at the crimson-haired teen who held him gently in her arms. Rias? Don't speak, just listen to the sound of my heartbeat. As it calms you down, just relax and let your master take care of you. Rias said, making Issei slowly calm down again. After a brief moment of serenity with no words, just contact, Rias decided to be brave and ask her mysterious pawn to open up to her. I can tell that was a serious nightmare you just had, and believe me, I've had my fair share of those myself. You could say that. Issei replied bluntly. Listen, I'm not going to force you to tell me what is troubling you, but to be honest, it breaks my heart to see you like this. So if you need somebody to talk to about this, then here I am. Rias said, unable to comprehend how she should act. After all, Rias rarely has seen this side of Issei before. The first and only time, of course, was the day that he became her servant. Issei did the unexpected to Rias and boldly embraced her tightly. Thank you, Rias. That makes me happy to hear that. Thank goodness you feel better. Rias replied, cuddling him back. I'll tell you. Issei simply said, shocking Rias for Issei's actions. Really? You don't have to if it makes you uncomfortable. To be honest, it's a door I wish to keep closed. But at the same time, I really want to tell you. Tell me what exactly? Rias asked, expecting the worst. I'll tell you about my past. Issei said with a gloomy expression. Rias couldn't prevent her heart skipping a beat. After all, Issei was clearly all about keeping this a secret. But he deems Rias special enough to break that rule. The ruined princess did all that she could right now. Rias took his hand and said to him. I'm here for you and I will do whatever I can to make you feel happy. I will help you move past this. Rias said, making Issei smile. Once again, a brief moment of silence occurred in the room and then, Issei broke it. Remember how I told you before that my parents were murdered by a fallen angel? Issei asked, making sure he had Rias' full attention. Yes, I remember. Well, I lied. My parents weren't killed by Rainer, they were slaughtered, Issei said, once again showing a gloomy expression. Rias dared not interrupt Issei, fearing he would shut his feelings away. So she just looked sad and listened intently. Flashback. It was just a normal evening at my house and my family had just finished up having dinner. Thanks for the dinner, Mum, you're the best cook in the world, little Issei said with a huge smile. Wow, and aren't I lucky to have such a sweet and kind boy to compliment my cooking? Issei's mother said as she patted the little one's head. Then all of the electricity shut off, leaving the house in total darkness. Ah! My father yelled out in pain, causing my mum and I to rush towards him. Daddy, Issei yelled as he rushed to the hallway. Then we saw her, she had her huge chrome wings out and my father was on the floor holding his stomach. Good evening, you pests, I have come here for pest control for the great Azazel, Rainer said as she eyed the little Issei. Please don't hurt my family. If you must hurt someone, then please make do with me. Issei's dad said as he got to his feet. My father tried his best to put on a brave face in front of that monster. But he was quickly tossed aside. Ah. Dear, Issei's mother said as she tried to protect her son from harm. I will never forget what happened next. My father had his hands pinned up against the wall, pierced by spears. And then my mother was hoisted up by her neck. I couldn't do anything, I was frozen in fear. You monster, get your hands off my wife. What do you want with us? What do I want? I told you, didn't I? I've come to kill you all, Rainer said, making Issei's dad glare at her. I won't let you get away with this, Issei's father declared, now trying to free himself. Don't glare at me with those inferior eyes, you bastard, Rainer said as she glared back at him with a gaze of death. What I saw next caused me to be sick and scream. My father had his eyes gouged out by Rainer's gloved fingers. The blood oozed from his eyes, which were now no use to him. I won't let you hurt my family, his father said again. But little did he know, those were going to be the last words he ever said in this world. Rainer stabbed him through the heart and ended his life. Dear. That's much better. Damn, he pissed me off. You bitch, you stay away from my son, Issei's mother screamed after she got up and managed to cut Rainer's cheek with the knife she had hidden from the kitchen. You damn human, how dare you defile my face, Rainer said after she punched Issei's mother right in the face. Mummy, Issei screamed as he helplessly watched his mother be stabbed through the stomach, pinning her to the floor. Run, Issei, she replied, but Issei couldn't feel his legs at this point. You bitch, Rainer screamed as she snapped both of Issei's mother's legs like matchsticks. Ah, Issei's mother screamed out in pain. You think you can get away with doing this to my perfect beauty? You inferior insect, Rainer said, this time breaking her arm. Run, Issei, Issei's mother screamed again. But once again, Issei couldn't obey her orders. Don't worry, both you and your son will be meeting up with that four-eyed prick soon. Rainer said as she once again created a light spear. Issei's mother, with the remainder of her strength and with her last unbroken limb, reached out and touched Issei's cheek, unable to yell out to him anymore. She simply smiled and said. Please get away from here, Issei. Mummy loves you very much. And those were treated as her last words. Rainer finished my mother off with the spear, piercing her throat. It was so hard to watch. Mummy, Issei yelled as his mother's blood sprayed onto his cheek and his mother's hand became lifeless and dropped to the floor. I shook in fear and pain after Rainer stabbed me. Issei began to shake and tear up after he remembered that brutal scene. Issei, you can stop now if you want. Rias said, unable to see him like this. No, it's okay, I have already started. Where was I? Oh right. After Serziches resurrected me, he left with a choice. He offered to train me and take me in. To help me avenge my parents and become stronger so I could live without them. Of course I accepted his offer. My hands had already been stained with the fallen angel's blood who tried to kill me once I became a devil. It was both Serziches and Drake who gave me the strength to keep going. The first month was the hardest by far. I found myself unable to accept my parents were truly gone and my sleep was never peaceful. But I got stronger thanks to the support. Serziches offered to take me in as a Gremory and to erase my past life. But I declined. It's not that I wasn't happy or that I wasn't grateful. It's just that I didn't want to ever forget that I am a Haidu. Your older brother distracted me as much as possible. When he wasn't training me to fight and how to use my devil powers, he was teaching me all about devils and the history for which they have been through. After a year of training my sacred gear and magic with Surziches, he took me back to a secluded and vast mountainside area in the human world to practice control and hiding my demonic power. And that's when I saw her. A frightened little girl being ganged up on by 3 adults. Lord Surziches, I will be right back, Issei said as he prepared for battle. Wait, Issei-kun, that girl is part of a family we are currently negotiating with for her pardon. She will be part of Rias' peerage, so don't do anything reckless, Surziches said, trying his best to stop Issei. How can you negotiate for her safety when she's dead? I'm going, Issei said as he activated his boosted gear. Wait, if you're going to go, then wear this. We can't afford to have your identity become public and have everything we have worked for ruined. Surziches said as he used magic to disguise Issei in a black outfit with a mask covering his face. After Surziches gave me the okay, I jumped in and used the strength and power of my boosted gear to step in and protect her. Wait, don't tell me, that girl was a Keno. Rias said, having the urge to finally interrupt Issei. That's right. I didn't know she was until after I returned. But yes, that was a Keno I saved. Taking care of them was no problem. They were just grunts who underestimated me because of my size and my hidden sacred gear. The scene caused a Keno to faint, but she was safe now. But there was something else to worry about. The real problem was the frightening presence I felt in the distance. I was ready to protect this girl with my life. But Surziches stepped in and told me that he had just decided to move the plan forward and he arranged for you to be transported to our location. After that, I can only guess that a Keno woke up and found you later in the woods with your brother. By then I was long gone back to the underworld for my training. Wait a second, a Keno never told me about a mystery character in black taking out her assassins. Rias inquired, completely confused. I guess, is the shock caused her to forget. Either that or somebody manipulated her memories prior to you meeting her. Issei said, now returning to his past. After I trained another 2 years of training my body and fighting skills with Surziches, he assigned me a new teacher to train under as well. This teacher was an expert on sacred gears and tended to collect them. He had one task. Training me how to control my boosted gear to the best of my ability and how to control my power so that I didn't lost control. Azazel, Rias said, recognizing Issei's description. That's right. Issei replied, returning to his story. We walked towards the grand hall and I saw him sat at the end of the table. Issei-kun, this is the governor of the fallen angels. Azazel. Suddenly, my body began to shake and I felt as if I was about to be kicked there and then. I knew that I had heard that name before I met him that day. Azazel, Issei thought to himself as he tried to recall where he had heard the familiar name before. I will kill you here now, isseihyoudou. This is all for the sake of our leader Azazel. Rainer said in Issei's memories. Issei suddenly stopped shaking and remained quiet. Oh, so you're isseihyoudou? Nice to meet you. Azazel said with an irritating grin for Issei. Azazel, Issei yelled, suddenly being enveloped in flames. Issei-kun, what's wrong? Surziches said, unable to comprehend what was happening right now. To be honest, at the time I had no clue what I was doing right now. Welsh dragon balance breaker, Drake said, shocking both Surziches and Azazel. Oh? A balance breaker at such a young age. Interesting. Azazel said, now standing up. Azazel, Issei yelled, suddenly taking off and charging towards the so-called boss of Rainer, his parents' murderer. Azazel grinned and caught the dynamic punch with his bare hand. Oh? Not bad at all, kid, you're quite strong. Azazel said, causing Issei to get irritated. I'm not done yet, Issei yelled as he switched his attack to a right roundhouse kick. Your speed is not bad either. But you're not fast enough. Azazel said as he leapt over Issei using his head as a springboard. I won't let you get away, Issei shouted as he charged Azazel again with his newly awakened speed. What are you trying to hit? I guess you are just a brat after all. Azazel said as he effortlessly evaded Issei's strikes. Issei launched punch after punch. Kick after kick. But to no avail, Azazel without any problems either dodged his punches or blocked his kicks. Boost. Finally it's time, Issei said as he suddenly widened the distance between them. What's your plan now, kid? Going to give up? Azazel said, causing Issei even more frustration. Dragon shot, Issei yelled as he took all of the multiplied power he had been keeping hidden from his opponent. I remember breathing heavily here. I was convinced my attack was enough to crush his spirit or at least hurt him. But after I assessed the damages towards the wall, he was nowhere to be seen. He wasn't even in the remnants of the blast. Your anger has certainly succeeded in awakening your balance breaker. However, it leaves both you and your balance breaker fragile, Azazel said as he effortlessly destroyed Issei's scale mail armor with one strike. Issei collapsed to his knees and punched the ground. So you really are a weakling after all. Azazel said as he went to leave the room. Azazel, why? Why did you send that monster to my parents' home and let her murder us in cold blood? Please tell me, Issei said in a complete state with tears staining his cheeks and his retinas. I don't have a clue what you're talking about, kid. Azazel said as he began to walk away. Don't buck with me, that woman said it just before she killed me, that she was doing all of this for you, Issei said, making Azazel turn around. You mean this girl here? Azazel said as he got up the image of Rainer on his phone. Yes, her, so she really is one of your killers. Issei replied, beginning to get up again. I see. Listen up, kid, I didn't order that woman to do anything. She's a loose cannon who always went rogue and did whatever she wanted to. It's true that because of your sacred gear's potential, that many feared you awakening its power. However, I may be the governor, but I have no interest nor part in the schemes others in my faction plan. So you're saying that my parents were killed for fun? No way, Issei said, beginning to get upset again. That's right, kid, you should consider yourself lucky. Yes, you lost your parents, but you lived to survive another day. But that's still not fair. Well, now you have learned that lesson firsthand. The world isn't fair, kid. Now are you going to stay on that floor crying like a weak little child? Or are you going to get up, get stronger and be a man? Azazel yelled, making Issei wipe away his tears. Isn't that obvious? I vowed to my parents as soon as I awakened that I would master this power to rid the world of the evil that threatens it. And I would protect everyone I care about so this doesn't happen again, so hell yeah, I'm going to be a man, I'm going to get stronger. And then I'm going to show that bitch what it's like to be the hunted for a change, Issei yelled as he glared onwards at Azazel. Now that's more like it. Come with me, Sekiryutei, your training starts now. Azazel said, leading the now calm teen out of the room. And that's how it happened. After 3 more years of training with Azazel and Serziches, I passed my middle-class devil exam and returned home to the Haidu house that I had left for so long. Issei said, shocking Rias. Issei, you're a middle-class devil? Yeah. Serziches offered to train me further to help me gain high-class status by teaching me more knowledge. But at the time, all I was focused on was avenging my parents. And then after that, I was going to end my life by my own hand. Issei said, suddenly being hugged by Rias. And then I found you. I won't ever let you be lonely again, Issei. I promise. I had no idea you had it so bad, and yet you were always so close to me. Rias said as she cried and held him close. Thank you was all Issei could say as he embraced her back. His words hard to utter as the tears he shed cloaked them. After a somewhat peaceful sleep, Issei and Rias were woken up by a loud banging on the front door. Issei put on his top and answered the door. Irina. What's wrong? Issei said to the frantic angel who panted heavily. Issei-kun, it's terrible, heaven has been invaded by Klepeth. Damn, that's not good. Hold on, I'll go get everyone else. Issei said as he proceeded to run back to his room. Issei-kun, that's not the full story. Your mother and father have been taken hostage and they're requesting you go to heaven, Irina said, making Issei speechless and panic-stricken. Those bastards. Issei said as he tightly clenched his fists to the point they began to pierce his skin and bleed. Chapter 38. You picked the wrong day to piss me off. The atmosphere remained quiet and filled with tension at the Haidu residence. And Issei was just about ready to explode in anger. All of a sudden, a huge magic circle appeared on Issei's wall with a very familiar and recognizable symbol embedded on it. Just as Rias, Issei and Irina turned to look at the circle, an image suddenly sprung to life when the magic created some sort of communication screen. And now Issei was one step away from exploding. Hello? Hello, can you hear me, Sekiryutei? A voice said, which pained Issei's eardrums. Is that one of the evil dragons from Klepeth? Irina asked, suddenly feeling a dark and rage-filled tension in her childhood friend. Brendel, Issei replied with blood dripping from his still clenched fists. The evil dark green western dragon with silver eyes grinned at Issei whilst he stood up on his hind legs like a human. You know me? Oh, I'm so happy to be known by the legendary Red Dragon Emperor and his weak partner who managed to get cut down into a sacred gear, Grendel said, making Issei lose his patience. What do you want from me, you conniving scumbag? Issei asked, feeling tempted to smash the circle. Ooh, I wouldn't be so horrible to your parents' captor if I were you. Who knows what would happen to them? Grendel said, making Issei's sacred gear power up. Boost, 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 boost. What do you want with my parents, you crazy psychopath? Issei asked, now starting to get ready to kill. What do I want with them, you ask? I couldn't care less what happens to them. All they are to me right now is a handy bargaining chip. And it's the perfect bait to get you here if I do say so myself. Grendel replied with an evil laughter. How cruel, Irina said, suddenly feeling for Issei who looked so distraught. Grendel, you cowardly bastard, leave my parents out of this, Issei roared, making Grendel laugh again. Oh no. No, I don't think so, Isseihyouudou, they are just the toys I need to make this game of blood and warfare more exciting, Grendel said, now cackling maniacally. How dare you, Issei said, ready to launch a dragon shot at his smug-looking face. Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Who knows what would happen to your parents if you didn't let me finish talking. Or do you want to take that chance, Red Dragon Emperor? Grendel said with confidence. What do you want, Grendel? I'm glad you asked, Sekiryutei. You see, I'm prepared to offer you a deal. Here's how it will go. Here are my coordinates. I have opened the gateway to heaven, so come and get me. I want to see the blood dripping from your corpse after I enjoy cutting you to ribbons, but if you refuse to come, I will make your parents experience their deaths repeatedly with 10 times more the pain they suffered that day for every hour you keep me waiting. Now I have to accommodate my guests. Please take your time, Red Dragon Emperor. And I will gladly show my guests my kind hospitality. Run, little devil, run, Grendel said, causing the magic circle to explode and end the communication line. Issei and Rias said, noticing Issei was looking at the floor in silence whilst his body shook. Issei and said, trying to calm him down. Everyone back away from my partner, he's going to snap any second, Drake said, a little too late. Balance break, Issei shouted, causing his body and the living room to be submerged in flames, igniting the furniture and those who tried to get close to him. Rias and Irina flew backwards into the wall and saw Issei in his crimson overdrive armor. Grendel, I'm going to massacre you, Issei roared after he created his magic circle to heaven, which he could only use because Grendel and Clippeth had successfully shut off the security. And within a tower of flames, Issei vanished from the household, leaving loads of ashes-ridden furniture in his hunt for blood. Issei and Rias screamed when Issei vanished from the room. Issei kun a voice said, making Rias and Irina turn around. Damn it, I'm too late. Big brother, Rias said, rushing towards the demon lord. I'm sorry I didn't get here fast enough, Rias. Heaven has requested our assistance to get rid of the Clippeth forces, and to make matters worse, the demonic sword user Chaos Edge is there as well. Siegfried. Serziches said, making the atmosphere drop. Issei rushed off to fight Grendel. He's in danger, big brother, Rias said, making Serziches worried. Damn it, this is not good at all. Rias, assemble your peerage, we're going after him, Serziches said, making Rias go. I will also help you save heaven. As Archangel Michael's ace, I will drive those sinners from heaven personally, Irina said as she equipped her sword. Elsewhere, cries of uncontrollable rage and destruction could be heard in the place of humanity's eternal paradise. There he is, everybody get him, Diodora Astaroth ordered as soon as the Red Dragon Emperor appeared in heaven. Thousands of Clippeth soldiers charged towards the Crimson Dragon as per their orders with an enormous battle cry. Out of my way, Issei roared after firing his all-powerful destructive Crimson Dragon cannon. The blast consumed all who dared to get in the Sekiryutei's path, and all who did so met the same blood-filled end. Black wings scattered across the wasteland, and the blood endlessly traveled in an everlasting river upon the ground. Another crowd of heavily armed soldiers charged towards Issei. But this group of female and male devils all met the same fate as the previous power-hungry mercenaries. Screams of extreme pain and scorching terror erupted in front of this assault team's captain as the army cried out in eternal blazing pain. The burned victims constantly rolled on the ground to try put out these flames. But no matter how hard they tried, it was all for nothing. The struggle to live only made their deaths that much more painful to endure. Issei deployed his wings and soared through the ashes towards Diodora, scattering them all over due to his incredible power and velocity. Stop right there, Sekiryutei, you have yet to deal with the heir to the great and mighty Astaroth clan, Diodora said as the purple infinity circle appeared on the back of his hand. Move out of my way, you're not my purpose for being here, Issei said as Diodora let him walk past. Is that so? Oh well. Then I guess I will just have to enjoy raping your special friends when they come here to save you. I just can't wait to take them with this power whilst they call out your name. Diodora said with an evil cackle after he licked his lips. What did you just say? Issei replied, turning his attention towards Diodora. Eh? I said, what the buck did you just say, you twisted son of a bitch? Did you not hear me? Issei said, making Diodora start to panic at Issei's sudden power increase. Diodora deployed a humongous emerald barrier and looked on with an evil grin. Struggle all you want, Sekiryutei, it's useless to beat the power of office that I have obtained, you won't even be able to crack this barrier, Diodora said with certainty. You bastard, Issei yelled as he effortlessly smashed his way through the barrier when he took off at his max speed towards Diodora. Wait a second, how is this possible? Diodora said through painful breaths as he struggled to pry the piercing scaled fingers away from his throat. You picked the wrong day to piss me off, Diodora Astaroth, Issei said with an uncontrollable rage. Welsh Dragon Bishop Blaster. Bragg said as two huge cannons appeared on Issei's shoulders. Wait a second, let's talk about this, please. I'm sorry, I won't go near or hurt anyone in your peerage, please just spare my life, Diodora pleaded, which only made Issei tighten his grip. Dragon Blaster, Issei yelled, consuming Diodora in a blinding and destructive jade blast. Issei turned his attention towards his destination and took off in an instant. leaving nothing behind of Diodora Astaroth, not even his bones to prove his existence or the clothes on his back. "I'm coming for you," Grendel Issei yelled after he transformed back into Cardinal Crimson Queen and took flight. Hot on his tail, the Gremories, Irina and Surziches had finally entered heaven. "Where is Issei-kun, President?" Kiba asked, seeing not a soul in sight. "I don't know. But we have to find him quickly," Rias said, bumping into Kaneko, who had stopped dead in her tracks. "President Rias, I think I know which way he went," Kaneko said as she pointed off into the distance at all the remains of Black Devil wings and all that was left from Issei's rampage. "No way," Rias said, feeling a pain in her chest. "This is bad. It seems Issei has in fact reverted to his assassination mode. He must have been pushed over the edge when his parents were brought into this. We have to hurry," Rias Surziches said, unaware of the presence who suddenly appeared in front of them. My, I think you have much more urgent matters to attend to, Demon Lord Surziches Lucifer," a voice said, making Kiba and Zenobia draw their swords. "The Chaos Edge," Siegfrieda Keno said as she stared at the sword-wielding demon. "President Rias, everyone, leave this to the knights," Kiba said as he equipped his holy demonic blade and Zenobia drew Durandal. But Rias began to say before she was interrupted. "President Rias, there is no time to waste, please rush to Issei and leave this to me and Kiba," Zenobia said with a determined look. "I understand. But you best return to me alive, do you both understand?" Rias asked, feeling anxious and worried to leave them alone with this shredder. "Yes, President," they both said as they reverted their attention to the sword-wielding warrior. Just as the battle between blades was about to begin, a huge Pandora's box was about to be opened. "I'm here, Grendel, now hand over my mother and father," Issei said after he removed his helmet. "Of course, Sekiryutei. A deal is a deal. I'm a dragon, not a monster," Grendel said with an evil smile. Issei stood his ground and glared at the huge dragon, who was now bringing two figures forward. Issei looked up the steps and immediately recognized the two who were standing there. Overwhelmed with emotions, Issei rushed up the stairs as fast as his dragonic armored legs could carry him. "Mother, father, I've missed you so much," Issei yelled as he went in to embrace the pair of them. All of a sudden, Issei found himself hitting the ground after an unknown force struck his vulnerable cheek. Issei looked up and instantly found out who had hit him. Mother," Issei said in a stuttered fashion. "Don't call me your mother, you freak of nature, my son died many years ago," Issei's mother said, who now glared at him evilly. "What are you saying, Mum?" "It's me, Issei said as he tried to touch her again. "Stay away from my wife, you abomination," Issei's dad said, this time moving Issei's mother away from him. "Wait a second, what's going on here?" "I'm isseihyoudou, Issei, I'm your son," Issei said, his words failing to show any impact. "How dare you still claim you are part of the Hyoudou family after you have turned into such a cold-blooded killer," Issei's father said, dealing a critical blow. "Wait, Dad, I can explain," Issei began to say but was once again interrupted by his mother. "Why couldn't you have just died with us as a human? As a family? Instead of tarnishing your soul and becoming a monster?" Issei's mother said, making him shake as tears rolled down his cheeks. Suddenly, Issei felt like he was 5 years old again. Only a child being scolded by his parents for something bad he did. "I lived my life just like you wanted me to, Mother. I tracked down your murderer and got justice. I've been protecting my friends and I have met someone who is worth living for," Issei said, once again, his words falling on deaf ears. "Shut up, you murderer, you're not my son," Issei's father said as he dealt a painful punch to Issei's face. Issei collapsed to his knees and his armor suddenly fell to the floor with a loud thud. "You're just a child crying for attention. You didn't kill that woman for us, you killed her because you're a monster," Issei's mother said, finally breaking Issei's innate dam. Issei began to cry and scream whilst he dropped to further and further, never-ending levels of despair. "Oh look, he's crying again," Issei's father said as he broke out into a large cackle. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Issei said under his breath as his vision began to cloud. "You're not our child, you are just a monster who needs to be executed to make the world safe again." I'm sorry, Issei said again as everything turned to black. "Won't you die for us? Issei, die for your mother and papa," Issei's mother said, dealing the finishing blow. Issei's power exploded outside of him and began to ensnare him in a vortex of sorrow and uselessness. "Looks like the show's about to begin," Grendel said with a huge smile. Everything in the room turned to the color red and Issei's power was beginning to go out of control. Partner, pull yourself together," Drake said, but it was no use. "It's useless, Drake, he can't hear you now," Grendel said as he enjoyed Issei's transformation. Just at the right timing, Rias and Kaneko arrived into the room, leaving the others to deal with their current battles. "Issei, get a hold of yourself," Rias said as she ran towards the crying dragon. Rias found herself being repelled from Issei's out-of-control power and knocked into Kaneko. "It's no use, President, Issei power is beginning to go berserk," Kaneko said as she struggled to stay on her feet. "What do I do?" What do I do? Rias said to herself. Closing her eyes as the tears began to flow. All of a sudden, Rias felt a sudden warmth inside her mind and she saw two glowing orbs floating inside. Rias dove into her mind and listened for any signs of life from these immobile spirit orbs. Are you Rias Gremory? The orb on the left said, to which Rias nodded. Thank goodness our son is in danger right now. And we need you to help him. The second orb said, making Rias fully focus on them both. But I can't do anything. I can't even get close, Rias replied, feeling helpless. Please Rias Gremory. It has to be you to help our boy regain his senses. Because of that beast, Issei is convinced that those imposters up there are in fact us. We can't communicate with him because his mind has been clouded with thoughts of despair. Are you Issei's? Rias Gremory, please, there isn't any time to waste. Please save our son. The darkness is beginning to change our sweet little Issei. Issei's mother said, helping Rias pull herself together. I understand, mother, father. I promise I will bring the one we love so dearly to reality. I have yet to marry him and I won't let anything in the universe stop me from staying by his side. And besides, I haven't had the chance to thank you both for raising such a respectable and kind man. Rias said as she felt the connection begin to fade. Rias' eyes shot wide open and her stare now fixed to that of determination and one goal. The Crimson Princess's eyes shifted from their calm and gentle blue to their ferocious and demonic crimson red. Rias created a magic circle and fired a huge portion of her destructive magic at the loud and dormant dragon. The attack was a direct hit and successfully broke Issei's out-of-control barrier, causing the Red Dragon Emperor to soar through the air and hit the nearby wall. President Rias Kaneko said as she rushed to the now unconscious Issei. Ah, what is this? A betrayal amongst friends. Ha ha, I love it, Grendel said, earning him a magical blast from the ruined princess. Shut the hell up, Rias said, now turning her head to her rook. Kaneko, please look after Issei for me. I won't allow Issei to fight this battle. Even if these people are imposters, I will never force Issei to attack someone he loves. Rias said, remembering clearly when Issei had to do just that. Rias? Kaneko said as the president walked past her. I will deal with these imposters myself and I will completely annihilate this monster who takes delight in hurting my Issei Grendel. You will face the king of the Gremory household and the heir to the Gremory family, Rias Gremory. I won't let Issei be hurt by you anymore, Rias said as she began to glow in her intimidating and frightening crimson aura. Chapter 39, The Gremorys vs the Crime Force Dragon. Rias' eyes met with the bloodthirsty beast who showed no sign of giving her any attention. His gaze looking towards the unconscious Sekiryutei. The ruined princess took off at the exact timing that Grendel made his sly move. Oh no you don't, Rias said as she successfully retrieved Issei's body after he was suddenly snatched from Kaneko's grasp. Damn you damn bitch, stop interfering in a fight between dragons, Grendel roared in hopes she would back down from his intimidating power. I refuse, I won't let you hurt Issei anymore, Rias argued back as she stood in front of Issei. But why? Why would you deprive the Sekiryutei of such an entertaining feeling? Pain is the feeling of battle, and it's the greatest a dragon a warrior can experience, Grendel roared as he walked closely to Rias with a loud crash with every step he took. No way this time, Issei won't be the one fighting. I will protect him this time, Rias yelled back whilst she concentrated her aura. Fine then, before I prove to Drake I am the most powerful dragon, I will first deal with the spoilt brat who thinks she stands any chance of fighting, a dragon, Grendel roared as he swung his massive tail. Rias once again pushed Issei backwards out of Grendel's reach and then leaped into the air, unfolding her wings and taking flight. Kaneko, defend Issei, I will take care of him, Rias yelled as she concentrated her power and launched it at the ferocious dragon, landing a clean hit on his face. However, after the smoke from her attack cleared up, Grendel was completely unfazed by Rias' attack. No way, Rias said as Grendel too took flight. Rias tried her destructive power again and landed a direct hit on the dark green dragon's belly. Grendel winced from the blow, but he in response smashed Rias back down to the ground with his enormous tail. Before Rias could spring back into action, the red-haired girl felt her skull being pushed back by an incredible power and force. Rias yelled out in pain when her head struck against the wall behind her due to the intense velocity and strength behind the Crime Force dragon's claw. The Gremory King piece was forced to blink when the blood that began to flow from her head trickled down to her eyes, leaving a shocking red river from her forehead to her cheeks. Don't buck with me, you think that you can hope to entertain me with this weak power? Grendel yelled as he increased the strength of his grip around the bloodied maiden's skull. Rias struggled to pry the frightening dragon's sharp claws from her head whilst the dragon continued to yell. You just had to ruin my plan to force the Sekiryutei into his juggernaut drive to give me a worthy opponent, Grendel roared, making Rias cease her struggling and suddenly become silent. It was just because you wanted a decent fight. Rias mumbled, making Grendel respond. Oh, you're still alive, are you? You put my Issei through so much pain and despair when he finally has been able to smile again. Rias said, making her aura erupt to the surface. Huh? Grendel replied as he tried to understand what the woman he believed to be dying was saying. I will never forgive you. How dare you put my Issei through all of this for such a pathetic reason. Rias yelled, suddenly exploding with anger and successfully pushing Grendel away from her. Pathetic? Did you just call my battle? My perfect chance for a decent battle pathetic? Grendel yelled, but this had no effect on the now steamed ruined princess. A coward like you who resorts to such mind games to get what he wants doesn't deserve to fight Issei, so I will show you what happens to the head of the Gremories when you hurt those she loves the most, Rias yelled, firing a much more powerful and bigger destruction blast. The crimson and black magical attack consumed Grendel and this time began to show some clear evidence of its effectability. Grendel showed a disturbing smile on his face after he was dealt damage by Rias' attack. The blue liquid traveled from his now open wound on his non-scaly stomach. Interesting, that's more like it. Bring it on, Grendel roared as he made his stomach bigger as he inhaled deeply. Rias created a huge defense magic circle when she realized that Grendel was about to unleash a fire blast at a distance where countering was not an option. Grendel exhaled with great power and the scorching flames emerged and quickly approached Rias. Rias, look out, a voice said, tackling her to the ground away from the dragon's piercing ember strike. That was a close call. The black-haired devil said as they helped Rias to her feet. Thank you, Akeno. You saved me. Rias said, thanking her queen with a sincere smile. Thank me later. Here he comes, Akeno said as she and Rias dodged the dragon's second breath blast. I have you now, Grendel yelled as he began to slam his claws down on the magic-class devils. President Rias, Akeno senpai, a voice said, making the threatening dragon's attacks stop dead in their tracks. Asper, Rias said as her bishop successfully froze Grendel. Do you think this can hold me? Grendel roared as he broke out from the time paralysis and shifted his gaze towards the cross-dressing vampire. Don't forget about me, a white-haired girl said as she planted her foot into the monster's face, managing to draw blood from its mouth. Kaneko? But what about Issei? Rias asked due to her previous orders for Kaneko to protect her. Don't worry, President, Asia senpai is healing Issei senpai. Kaneko said as she created her snow-like cat ears and tail. I see, then everyone managed to get here safely. Rias said as she let out a sigh of relief. Yes, Kiba and Zenobia are currently fighting the Chaos Edge, and besides him, thanks to Issei, there wasn't many to block us from advancing. Akeno said as she dodged Grendel's next strike. Well then, let's take him down, Rias yelled, causing all of her servants on the front line with her to respond with a simple. Yes, President. Akeno, Kaneko, Gasper and Rias charged a mighty Clipeth member again and concentrated their attacks together. Aim for the stomach, that's his weakest spot, Rias shouted to her members before they departed. Akeno led the assault, providing defensive action with her water magic to repel and hold off Grendel's flames. Kaneko, who has been training immensely with her Nekomata powers, concentrated her blue flames together and fired them all at Grendel from the left. Whereas Rias fired her destructive power on his left side. Grendel grinned, his mind now running on overdrive within the heat of battle. The petrifying green dragon sent the attackers away when he brought his wings down in a thunderous clap of force. The timid vampire devil concentrated his forbidden Baylor view, once again attempting to freeze the dragon in its place. However, Grendel once again grinned when he saw what the sly devil was up to. I won't fall for that again, Grendel roared as he struck Gasper with his prevailing tail. With a ferocious counter-strike from the dragon's mouth, the Gremories found themselves on the ground. Talk about a troubling dragon. I don't suppose you have any secret ultimate moves which you have kept hidden, Rias? Akeno said in a jokey fashion. As a matter of fact, I do. But it takes a lot of time for me to concentrate all of my destructive power together to make it, Rias said as she stood on her feet again. Well then, if it's time you need, I think I may have a way of giving you just that, Akeno said with her signature smile. Then I will be counting on you and the others to give me as much time as possible, my queen, Rias said as she closed her eyes and surrounded herself in a crimson aura. Yes, President, Akeno said as she stood up to fight the immensely strong dragon. Oh? So are you up again to fight me? I hope you have something to keep me entertained. Or I'll just kill you all right now, Grendel said, awakening Akeno's sadistic side. You know what, I have just what you are looking for, Akeno said as she suddenly spread both her fallen angel and her devil wing. I am Akeno Himejima, daughter of Shuri Himejima and of Barakiel. I will show you dragon with the power I have constantly drained from Issei's dragon aura when I was keeping it from overflowing. I will show you just what the power of the Red Dragon Emperor can accomplish. Take this, Akeno said as she combined both of her holy and her lightning attributes together and unleashed it into the sky. Akeno's holy lightning bolt suddenly took on a metamorphosis and transformed into 3 holy lightning-infused huge Asian dragons. Grendel mistakenly stared in awe at Akeno's magical ability and falls for the sadistic queen's trap. Grendel utters as the lightning dragon's electrifying power courses through every vein in the dragon's veins, rendering its movements in paralysis. That was good, it's been a while since I got wounded and paralyzed this much, this is insanely entertaining, Grendel roared as he tried with all of his strength to move his limbs. Even after that attack he is still laughing and smiling. Gasper said in fear of his bravado. Well then, how about this then? Akeno said as she once again summoned her magical power into the sky. Grendel fell for the decoy strike and became temporarily blinded by Akeno's solar flare effect. It will take more than an attack like this to do me any harm, Grendel roared as he was unaware of his potential blind spot. You're wide open, the white-haired catgirl said as she drove tremendous uppercut into the dragon's stomach, sending it airborne. Daspi now, Kaneko yelled, causing Gasper to once again freeze the dragon for a short moment. Long enough at least for Akeno's real strike to pierce the right eye of their ginormous opponent. Grendel's body approached the ground at a quick pace, causing the decorative heavenly tiles of the floor to crack as the dragon landed feet first onto the ground whilst sapphire blood gushed from his sliced pupil. He still wants to fight after receiving such a fatal blow. Asia said as she continued to heal Issei's wounds. This dragon doesn't show any concern for its own body. I guess there is a reason why we are told not to fight the evil dragon race. Akeno said as she prepared for Grendel's counter-strike. Alright, this is the thing, a brawl to crush each other won't happen if it doesn't turn out like this is fine, it surely is turning into a battle to kill each other, so don't regret even if one or two of you die, you shitty bray. It's Grendel roared as he charged the Gremories again. Asper Kaneko, look out, Akeno said as Grendel's tail flanked the duo and attempted to slam them into the ground. Aspi Kaneko said as she tried to push back the tail with her own power. All of a sudden, Kaneko and Gasper found themselves in serious pain after Grendel maneuvered his neck to their backs and enflamed their bodies with his surprise attack. Now time for the first two bodies to lay to rest on the battlefield, Grendel roared as he once again prepared to open fire on the two ground-bound devils. Like I will let you, Akeno yelled as she used her water magic to block the death blow Grendel sent towards Gasper and Kaneko. Akeno experienced extreme pain when Grendel ceased his flames and grabbed Akeno in a crushing vice grip. That's right, such a beautiful sound to hear, Grendel yelled as he proceeded to strengthen his grip. Grendel yelled as Kaneko successfully planted a powerful senjutsu-infused kick into the wounded beast's right eye. You damn brat, Grendel roared as the pain forced him to let Akeno go. With an increasingly powerful wing attack, the Gremories once again hit the floor in front of him. It's no use, Vice President, none of our attacks seem to be working, Kaneko said as the devils breathed heavily. Don't give up everyone, we need to keep fighting until our president is ready. Akeno said as she suddenly felt a tap on her shoulder. Thank you, Akeno. But you don't need to stall for any more time now. My technique is complete. Rias said as she walked slowly towards Grendel with a gigantic sphere floating in front of her. Everyone get behind Rias, Akeno ordered the others as their king began her march towards the crime force dragon. It always frustrated me when my attacks wouldn't show any effect on so many of my enemies. However, it's because of this problem that I have finally created what you could call my ultimate move, blow away crime force dragon, Rias yelled as the gigantic sphere infused in a crimson and black aura slowly began its path to the extremely powerful foe. What the heck is that thing? It's so freaking slow, Grendel said as the energy ball slowly approached him. All of a sudden, the ruined princess's ultimate move's crimson and black aura began to spin inside it. What the hell? I'm being pulled towards it, Grendel said as he struggled to resist the insane magnetic pull originating from Ria's mystery move. Suddenly, when Grendel reaches a certain distance from the orb, armored scales on his body begin to shatter, and then, Grendel was finally enveloped in this mystery sphere's blinding power. I can't stop it, Grendel yells as his body is covered in crimson light and his body begins to disintegrate. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? How somebody you were toying with just now has unleashed such immense power onto you. Well, you see, there has been a change to my demonic power due to the influence of Issei's power. It's a massive destruction that eliminates all, and it doesn't have anything like attributes or weaknesses. I call it the extinguished star. Now blow away, Rias yells as the huge sphere of destruction radiates brighter and fully consumes the dragon that cried out in pain and agony. After Ria's ultimate move had consumed Grendel's body, the mighty dragon didn't have much to show for his mighty exterior anymore. All that remained of Grendel after Ria's finishing move was half of Grendel's creepy grin which stared at all of them. I see. It's exactly like what that bastard Euclid said. That the demonic powers carried by the kin of the House of Baal can even trim down the evil dragon's consciousness and soul. This really does work. Give up, Grendel. You're finished, Rias said as she prepared to deal the final blow. Ahahaha, this is nothing since I only have to get a brand new body made again after all. As long as my soul is safe, it's possible for me to change my body, no matter how many times. The Holy Grail sure is a convenient object, Grendel said, making Rias shocked upon hearing of the Holy Grail's involvement. Blipith has the Holy Grail? Rias inquired as Grendel's body began to disappear. Oh sorry, looks like our time is up, Rias Gremory, Grendel said as he began to teleport with a magic circle above him. Wait right there, Rias yelled, making the dragon laugh again. Ahahaha, believe me, I would love to keep fighting even in this state. It would be fun to see how many people I could bite before I bit the dust myself. But it looks like Crom Crunch needs me back at headquarters. And as much as I'd love to fight with him, I can't exactly kill him in this state. Goodbye, Rias Gremory. I will be back to finish off Dragon the Sekiryutei when my new body is complete, Grendel said as he disappeared in a blinding light. Rias? Akeno said as Rias appeared to be frozen in shock. Euclid Lucifuge. No way, then that means big sister is in danger, Rias said as she pondered on the very situation. I hope you wake up soon, Issei. I don't know what I would do if you never woke up again. Rias thought to herself as the situation had changed drastically for the worse. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.